This page is the cover of a magazine announcing the arrival of the Nintendo 64 in Japan on June 23, 1996. It's the August 1996 issue, issue number 3. The cover highlights Super Mario 64 and Pilotwings 64 as launch titles. Konami is also starting development for the N64, and 5 new titles have been announced. The page also lists 4 Super Famicom RPGs: Dragon Quest II, Star Ocean, Treasure Hunter G, and Fire Emblem: Genealogy of the Holy War. Finally, it lists a selection of around 10 upcoming N64 titles, including what seems to be Mario Kart 64, Star Fox 64, Wave Race 64, Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire, GoldenEye 007, and Blast Corps, alongside a couple of Japanese-only titles. This page is an advertisement for a Konami wrestling game on Super Famicom, featuring live commentary by TV Asahi announcer Yoshinari Tsuji. The game is promoted with the tagline, "Shaking the Ring, the Cry of a Hot Soul," and is scheduled for release in summer 1996, with the price yet to be determined. The advert also includes Konami company information and office addresses. This page is the contents page of a magazine, featuring a large image of Mario from Super Mario 64. It highlights the release of the Nintendo 64 in Japan on June 23, 1996. The page teases several articles, including a scoop on Konami's N64 software lineup, a perfect guide to launch titles such as Super Mario 64 and Pilotwings 64. It also mentions an E3 event report focusing on Nintendo 64, covering games like Super Mario Kart R, Super Mario Kart 64, Star Fox 64, and Kirby's Air Ride. Other sections advertised include articles on Blade and Barrel, Quanba, and professional baseball games, alongside hardware and software previews. There's a section on SFC, Super Famicom/SNES, RPGs, mentioning Fire Emblem, Genealogy of the Holy War, Dragon Quest II, Star Ocean, and Treasure Hunter G. A column about Devista 96 and a regular segment covering Who Knows Nintendo 64 are also listed, alongside regular features like game information, readers' pages, and new release lists. The bottom of the page explains the meaning of acronyms and symbols used in the magazine, such as RPG for role-playing game and ACT for action game. This page is an advertisement for the 4th Dengeki Game Awards 97, themed around Awakening Sleeping Talent. It is a major contest across 3 categories: Dengeki Game Novel Awards, Dengeki Game Comic Awards, and Dengeki Game Illustration Awards. The grand prize for each category is 1 million yen plus additional prizes. First round winners are announced for the Dengeki Game Novel Awards with 939 entries, and the Dengeki Game Illustration Awards with 673 entries, listing names of creators and their work titles. The page emphasizes media integration and power development, seeking entertainment content. This page announces the upcoming release of the Nintendo 64 in Japan on June 23, 1996. It highlights the anticipation for the console's launch and suggests that experiencing the N64 will change gaming. The page promotes a special feature on amazing N64 software from various developers. It encourages readers to read about it. The imagery includes N64 controllers flying over Japan. This page is a promotional page announcing a large 74-page special feature about Super Mario 64. The headline text proclaims Super Mario 64 as the flagship title, declaring the Operation Summit strategy is finally starting, with everything you need to know clearly detailed in this extensive feature. The page is designed to hype up the release of Super Mario 64 and showcase the Nintendo 64 console and controllers. Konami announced 5 Nintendo 64 titles, aiming for over 1 million sales each, with releases planned from late this year into the following spring. The lineup includes baseball, likely Power Pros, soccer, possibly International Superstar, Soccer 64, golf, mahjong, and a Goemon adventure game, Mystical Ninja Series. The announcement highlights Akihiko Nagata, general manager of Konami's business headquarters and president of KCE Japan, as being directly involved. Interview questions suggest improvements to existing franchises, including whether Pawapuro Baseball and Jikyu Soccer Quality Soccer will be featured. The announcement, dated June 23, 1996, is part of a Nintendo 64 Japan Attack campaign. This page is an interview with Konami discussing their approach to N64 game development. They started researching the N64 hardware early on, and are now focusing on how to best utilize its features, especially the analog stick, for which they formed a dedicated team. Konami is planning to release 5 titles, prioritizing sports games, with 3 sports titles coming first, and aiming for 12 releases within the year. Their sports games, including baseball, Super Power League 64, and soccer, are being built from the ground up for the N64, using real player and team names to enhance realism. The Goemon series on N64 is planned as a polygon-based 3D game with RPG elements, drawing inspiration from titles like Super Mario 64. Konami intends to showcase game footage around August at the Tokyo Game Show. Additionally, a side article announces that Hudson is also developing 2 N64 titles, Bomberman 64 and Super Power League 64, both as working titles. Bomberman 64 is mentioned after the release of Super Famicom Bomberman 4, and Super Power League continues their popular baseball series. A screenshot of Super Power League 64 is shown, and Hudson is planning to reveal game footage at events from late July to late August. This page showcases the N64 game Blade and Barrel, an action title by Kemco and their first release for the system. It's described as a superb battle action game, featuring intense 3D aerial combat with helicopters. The screenshots show gameplay set in a city environment, with explosions and lava, emphasizing the exciting and dynamic nature of the battles. The page highlights the game's 4-player split-screen mode as a major feature, and poses the question of whether even more players, over 5p, could be supported. They discuss how a 4-way split screen is a big selling point, and speculate how gameplay might be handled with even more players and smaller screen divisions, noting that the N64 can easily manage a 2-player split screen and potentially more. The game is noted as being scheduled for release in autumn, with the price yet to be determined. This page highlights the game Blade and Battle, a 3D battle action game for the N64. The article emphasizes the intense, ground-to-air battles featuring futuristic weaponry. Screenshots show diverse battle machines, including a helicopter, a tank, and advanced fighter jets. It mentions the game's setting is in the near future, and the vehicles are designed with cutting-edge aesthetics to be impressive in 3D. An interview with Seijiro Okuhara from the development team is featured, who states the game is primarily for 2-player battles. Players can choose between future helicopters and future tanks to fight in environments with buildings. He highlights the delicate control with the 3D stick and D-pad, allowing for sophisticated battles and creating a new genre, blending action and shooting game thrills. The game aims to revolutionize 3D direct aerial target combat (DATC) conventions on the N64, promising significant changes to the genre. The release date of June 23, 1996, is prominently displayed along with Nintendo 64 Japan Attack, indicating the N64 launch in Japan. This page is an advertisement for Super Mario 64 on the Nintendo 64. It promotes a Buy Mario campaign for the game. The text highlights that June 23rd is the day dreams become reality, promising extreme fun and excitement. It mentions that the ultimate game is being released in just 2 days, and that players can run around the fields and fly freely in the sky. The text emphasizes that the Nintendo 64 and Mario will teach players the true essence of gaming. The page also focuses on the 3D controls, stating that getting used to the 3D controls is key. It describes the initial feeling of unfamiliarity with the 3D stick and scrolling through the 3D Mario world, but encourages players to overcome this initial hurdle, mentioning the joy of mastering the controls after some practice. There is an image of a hand using the Nintendo 64 controller to illustrate this point, and screenshots from Super Mario 64 showing gameplay. The game is listed as releasing on June 23rd, with a price of 9,800 yen. This page is a promotional advertisement for the Nintendo 64 system and Super Mario 64. The text at the top right highlights a System Plus Stage Expanded Grand Opening, which likely refers to the release of the N64 console and Super Mario 64 as a launch title. The page showcases a large image of Mario facing off against Bowser, who is breathing fire, suggesting a boss battle scene from Super Mario 64. Smaller screenshots show gameplay from Super Mario 64, including Mario in different levels and interacting with enemies like Boo. The page is emphasizing the 3D world and gameplay experience of Super Mario 64, inviting players to embark on an adventure. This page introduces the gameplay and screen display of Super Mario 64. It explains that the game has 15 courses, each with 6 mini-scenarios or stars to collect. Players gather power stars to progress and eventually challenge Bowser. The page highlights that power stars can be collected in any order, and the game provides hints for their locations. The screen display is detailed, including the power meter, which represents Mario's health, the count of collected power stars, the camera angle, and the number of coins collected. It also mentions Mario's remaining lives, noting that the game allows for saving, making it easier even if you get a game over. The power meter is described as a new feature for the Mario series, making it less punishing when touching enemies. Coin collection rewards players with 1 UPs at 50 coins and something else at 100 coins. The number of power stars collected is also displayed. Finally, it touches on the camera angle and the 3D field view, mentioning different camera modes on the next page. The stage structure lists courses 1 through 15, followed by extra courses and hidden courses, with courses 15, extra course 2, and extra course 3 being Bowser battles of increasing difficulty. This page is about the basic knowledge needed for Super Mario 64. It explains that power stars are collected to open new courses, with 3 power stars needed to open the depicted door. The page highlights how to collect many stars, explaining they are keys to new courses, and that obtaining 90 stars across 6 courses is a goal, but hidden courses exist to be discovered. It then delves into camera angle switching, describing the UGM camera perspective as the player's viewpoint in the game. It details how the C button unit can be used to change the viewpoint during gameplay, noting there are 2 modes with slightly different operations that should be utilized case by case. The page provides diagrams showing how to use the C buttons and the 3D stick to manipulate the camera, demonstrating actions like viewing horizontally, approaching, viewing upwards, and side views using the C buttons and stick. It also describes 2 camera modes, UGM Mario, where pressing the R button brings the camera closer to Mario, allowing a view of the surroundings from Mario's perspective, recommended for general play. The second mode, UGM Stop, is explained to have the same basic operation, but holding R fixes the camera position, useful for fixing the camera angle. This page is a guide focused on the game Super Mario 64, showcasing various moves and actions Mario can perform. It illustrates techniques such as walking and running, crouching, jumping, consecutive jumps, triple jumping, and crab walking. Other moves demonstrated include the wall kick, backflip, swimming, foot sweep, hip attack, lifting and throwing objects, body attack, and even talking to characters. The page suggests there are many actions Mario can do, though you don't need to learn them all to play. This page is focused on Mario's actions in Super Mario 64. It highlights various moves Mario can perform using the 3D stick and Z trigger, emphasizing the amazing action and control feel of the game. Some of the featured actions include climbing trees and poles by getting close and using the stick, crawling by pressing Z to crouch and move, and flying out of cannons, which automatically happens when Mario enters one, with launch angle depending on the stick input. Riding a Koopa shell allows movement on the ground, and even on water, without being affected by enemies or obstacles. Mario can spin enemies by grabbing them and using the 3D stick and B button. Climbing is done by hanging and pushing the stick in the direction you want to climb. Pressing A makes it faster. Hanging from ledges is initiated by jumping towards edges of cliffs or blocks. Using the wing cap after a triple jump allows Mario to fly freely in the sky, feeling like a bird. Climbing on nets is done by approaching a net and pressing A to hold on, then moving with the stick. Finally, a finishing move is mentioned, suggesting the variety of actions available in Super Mario 64, beyond what's shown. The page concludes by stating there are many more actions Mario can perform, beyond what is introduced here. This page is focused on helpful items in Super Mario 64. It details the 3 types of star coins. Yellow coins, which are worth 1 coin and give a little health. Red coins worth 2 yellow coins, which are always in sets of 8 per course and give a good health boost. And blue coins worth 5 yellow coins, offering a larger health boost. Then it explains other helpful items. The heart, which restores health. The 1-up mushroom for an extra life. And the Koopa shell, which is described as a bonus item. Finally, the page covers the 3 color blocks. These blocks come in red, green, and blue, and initially are transparent and unusable. To make them solid, you need to find and activate a corresponding colored switch somewhere in the level. Red blocks contain the wing cap, green blocks contain the metal cap, and blue blocks contain The Vanish Cap. The example shows how the red block becomes solid after activating a red switch, allowing Mario to get the wing cap. This page is dedicated to Super Mario 64, boldly proclaiming, "Well then, good, the adventure begins." Peach is inviting players to the castle to play and enjoy cake, but this invitation is just the start of a grand adventure. The text explains that Bowser suddenly attacked Peach's Mushroom Castle, stealing the Power Stars, the source of power to protect the castle, and escaping into the worlds within paintings. Players are challenged to embark on a battle that spans 15 courses. The page also mentions that it will reveal secret tips for 30 stages and 5 courses within the game, accompanied by screenshots showcasing various levels and gameplay scenes from Super Mario 64. This page is a guide for Course 1, Boom Bomb Battlefield, in Super Mario 64, titled Boom Bomb Battlefield's King of the Mountain. It introduces this as the first stage to learn the controls while playing. The page highlights the basics of jumping and stomping, and notes that Mario's main attack is stomping. It mentions that in Mario 64, there is no time limit, allowing players to explore the field thoroughly to discover things. The guide points out that the star marks on the ground indicate Power Star locations. It advises players to remember these locations to clear the level easily. The page also mentions that red bow-bombs are friendly and will give hints when talked to. The objective of Star 1 is described as defeating King Bow-Bomb on top of the mountain. The clear conditions section at the bottom asks, Star 5 less than fly high, wing Mario greater than, and clear condition is. This hints at a later star in the same course involving the wing cap. This page is focused on Super Mario 64 and gives tips for players. It highlights the first boss battle against King Bow-Bomb, stating that while he is weak, players new to 3D controls might find it tricky. The page provides a simple strategy. Get behind King Bow-Bomb, pick him up, and throw him. It mentions that the game is designed as a demonstration to get used to the controls, so players should relax and enjoy the battle. The page also points out Gallery Receive section, suggesting that mastering techniques and combining them will make the game more enjoyable. It specifically mentions using backflips to get behind enemies to pick them up and throw them. Further down, it reveals point 3 about hidden elements in the game, including how to get Star 6 star in the cage, and hints at secret stars within Peach's castle slide, noting that a Power Star is available if you reach the goal and encourages players to thoroughly search the castle. It also mentions a hidden slider within the castle and suggests there might be another Power Star available under certain conditions within the slide. This page is a guide for Super Mario 64, detailing level objectives and tips for progressing. Star 2, titled Koopa Troopa, Is That Cheating? Quote, focuses on a simple race against Koopa Troopas near the starting area. It's designed to help players get used to the Nintendo 64's 3D stick controls. The guide hints at a shortcut during the race, suggesting it's so easy even a camel could walk through it. The text implies winning against the Koopa Troopas should be easy. Star 3, Soar to the Sky Island, explains how to use cannons to reach a floating island. Players need to talk to bow-bombs to open the cannon hatches. There are cannon locations in Course 1. And by entering a cannon, Mario becomes the cannonball. Once launched to the Sky Island, players need to hit yellow blocks to get a Power Star and clear the objective. Star 4, 8 red coins, describes how to collect red coins within the levels. Red coins are scattered around the fields, and collecting all 8 will reward the player with a Power Star. This red coin challenge is present in every course, encouraging players to thoroughly explore each area. The guide emphasizes diligent searching to find all 8 red coins to get the Power Star. This page highlights tips for Super Mario 64 gameplay. Star 5 is titled Leap Wing Switch, and explains that to get Star 5 in Course 1, you need to become Wing Mario and clear conditions in the sky. It mentions that you need to make the red blocks appear by progressing in the game and hitting the red switch to get the wing cap, so you can't clear Star 5 immediately. Star 6, at Chain Chomp's doghouse, reveals that there is a Power Star inside Chain Chomp's fence from the beginning. The hint suggests that Chain Chomp can be used to break the fence. The text indicates that Chain Chomp's teeth can break anything, including the fence. The page also has a section called Coin Collection is Essential in each course, explaining that in each course, there are 8 red coins to collect to get a Power Star. It advises that sometimes 8 red coins are available early on, while other times you need to clear other courses or solve puzzles first. It also explains how to check the number of red coins collected during gameplay by pausing. The next page is about Course 2 of Super Mario 64, titled Bataan King's Fortress for Star 1. It mentions that sophisticated stick control is required for this level. The tips provided are focused on navigating the level with Bataan King and explain that blue coin switches appear in Course 2, activated by a hip drop attack. Collecting blue coins is beneficial for health recovery, and it is noted that each scenario, star, within this course, contains 120 coins in total. The screenshots illustrate gameplay within this fortress-themed stage. The next page is a strategy guide for defeating King Bob-omb, who is referred to as Batang Kingu in Japanese in Super Mario 64. It highlights that he's a strong boss, emphasizing his size and the damage he can inflict. The guide provides a simple two-step strategy. First, circle around King Bob-omb to bait his attack, and second, when he stops moving, perform a hip drop attack from above. It advises repeating this process 3 times to defeat him. The page also includes general tips about power stars, stating that 70 power stars are needed to clear the game, and collecting 30 power stars will open up the big star door in Peach's castle, encouraging exploration. It mentions that collecting more power stars unlocks more courses, with 90 power stars required to fully complete the game. This page is about Super Mario 64 and highlights 2 stars, Star 2 and Star 3. Star 2 is titled, To the Top of the Tower, and it mentions a new tower appearing in the Whomp's Fortress field. The objective is to get the power star at the top of the tower. The text suggests that the tower has some tricky footholds, requiring careful operation to navigate. Star 3 is titled, One Shot with a Cannon, and shows Mario using a cannon. It explains that this stage is similar to Star 3 of Course 1, Bob-omb Battlefield. To use the cannon, you need to talk to a red Bob-omb. Once the cannon is usable, you can fly to a specific location to get the power star. The page encourages readers to look at the continuous screenshots to understand where to fly and what to aim for. It notes that talking to red Bob-ombs is important, as they are key to new developments in the game. The screenshots show Mario navigating the tower in Star 2, encountering a chain chomp, and reaching the top. For Star 3, the screenshots show Mario talking to a red Bob-omb, using the cannon, and obtaining the power star after being launched. The text, Hitotsu Tobide Clear, cleared in one jump, is displayed upon obtaining the star after using the cannon. The page is titled, Continuous Photos of Mario's Magnificent Jumping. This page is focused on Super Mario 64 and provides strategy guide, information for obtaining 3 power stars. For Star 4, titled, Jump Kick Across the Floating Island, it explains how to use a plank bridge. The player needs to punch the plank to make it fall, then carefully walk across it to reach the floating island. Star 5, called Stone to Birdcage, instructs players to grab onto a bird and use it to reach a cage floating in the sky to get the power star. Star 6, Break It with the Cannon, details using a cannon to reveal a power star. The page also includes a screenshot at the bottom right showing Mario facing a piranha plant, with text suggesting that the game can be cleared quickly. This page is focusing on Course 3, which is Pirate Ship Cove from Super Mario 64. It's highlighting 2 stars within this course. Star 1 is titled Treasure of the Sunken Ship, and the guide warns players that it is difficult because you must remember to take breaths while underwater. The objective is to open treasure chests within a sunken ship to obtain a power star. The guide mentions that the entrance to the sunken ship has urchin enemies, which need to be avoided. A tip for getting the treasure chest is given, which is to open the 4 treasure chests in the correct order. Otherwise, you will take damage, emphasizing that this is tough. Star 2 is titled Unagi Eel's Tail. This star requires you to obtain a power star from the tail of the giant Unagi eel. The guide explains that this stage, like stages 1 and 2, is difficult. It mentions that the condition to clear is to get the power star attached to the Unagi eel's tail. It notes that it is extremely difficult to swim freely underwater and avoid the Unagi eel and its attacks, highlighting the damage you receive if you touch the eel. The strategy is to wait on top of a rock for the Unagi eel to appear, and then attack its tail to get the power star to drop. The guide mentions that getting a power star is tough, but the sign of victory is within the water. This page is focused on providing hints and tips for obtaining power stars in Super Mario 64. It specifically covers stars 3, 4, 5, and 6. Star 3, Treasure of the Underwater Cave, advises players to open treasure chests in the correct order to reveal the power star. warning of Goombas, and falling pillars in the cave. Star 4. Red coins on the floating ship highlights the locations of the 8 red coins. 3 on the ship, 4 underwater, and 1 hidden elsewhere, suggesting a cannon jump might reveal its location. Star 5. 1 jump to the stone pillar points out that the 5th power star is hidden unexpectedly, requiring a cannon jump to a pillar and changing the viewpoint to find it, noting the jump itself is challenging. Finally, Star 6, go through the gushing water, gives the hint wait, and states that this power star is impossible for normal Mario to obtain, requiring players to reach at least course 6 and make Mario heavier to succeed. This page showcases the Super Snow Slider and Penguin Champion race from the game. It highlights course 4, Freezing Cold Mountain, as a major attraction. The goal in the game is to race against penguins to win power stars and become the champion snowslider, particularly in STR 1, where reaching the goal gets you a power star, and STR 3, where you aim to become the champion snowslider, battling against penguins. The page describes the gameplay as thrilling, especially the penguin races, emphasizing the intensity and enjoyment that could make players addicted. Screenshots show Mario on a snowslider racing penguins on a snowy track. Text boxes in the screenshots include lines from the penguin racers, such as one penguin boasting about being the world champion slider, and another exclaiming about the difficulty of the race. The text also mentions that tilting the control stick forward increases speed, while tilting it backwards decreases it. One penguin is also accused of cheating to be the champion, because they are so fast and sneaky. This page of the magazine is about Super Mario 64 and provides gameplay hints for several power stars within the game. For Star 2, titled Lost Baby Penguin, Penguins Who Can Gossip, the advice is about returning the baby penguin to its parent. It mentions that taking damage will cause you to drop the penguin, and that carrying it will reduce your movement speed, making it harder to navigate. Star 4 is titled All 8 Red Coins. It explains that while red coins are generally easy to collect in this course, this particular power star, located in the middle of the mountain, requires the use of a cannon to reach. Star 5, Rolling Snowball, is about guiding a snowball. The tip is to find the head of the snowball and lead it to the designated location to obtain the power star. Finally, Star 6, Wall Kick Super Wall Kick, describes how to get a power star by using wall kicks. It points out that a power star awaits after completing a wall kick, but warns about unstable footing. The next page is about Super Mario 64 and focuses on Course 5, Teresa's Spooky House. It details strategies for acquiring 2 stars within this course. For Star 1, titled Catch the Parent Teresa, the guide explains the spooky atmosphere of the haunted house and how small Teresa ghosts will try to approach Mario. It suggests defeating these smaller ghosts to make the parent Teresa appear. For Star 2, called Teresa's Merry-Go-Round, the guide describes the basement level of the house, which has a merry-go-round floor. It mentions that smaller Teresa ghosts will appear, and defeating them again will trigger the appearance of the parent Teresa. The guide highlights that the parent Teresa is quite large and strong but can be defeated with 3 hits. The next page focuses on hints and tips for Super Mario 64. It describes Star 3 in a room filled with bookshelves, where the objective is to solve a puzzle involving 3 colored books to reveal a power star. Star 4 discusses finding hidden red coins in what is described as Teresa's Horror House, advising players to carefully observe their surroundings. Star 5 and Beyond Course 6 mentions blue switches and blocks, suggesting players should try earlier courses if they are stuck, highlighting that the game doesn't need to be played in a strict order. Finally, it teases mysteries around the castle grounds, pointing out caged areas and pillars in the water. This page is about the Bowser battle in World 3 of the extra courses in Super Mario 64. The page title emphasizes minimizing damage during the fight with Bowser and states this battle is in World 3. It mentions that the Peach Picture is a trap set by Bowser that leads Mario to the extra course when the floor breaks. The page gives advice on how to approach the Bowser fight, emphasizing accurately grasping movement direction. It highlights the red coins and suggests pressing the green switch to become Metal Mario to collect them easily and avoid damage. It mentions that collecting all 8 red coins in the extra course is challenging and requires precise stick control, but using Metal Mario makes it much easier. This page is about the Bowser battle in Super Mario 64. It highlights the first encounter with Bowser as the first of 3 battles. The strategy explained is to grab Bowser by the tail, spin him around using the 3D stick, and then throw him into a bomb to defeat him. The page also mentions that defeating Bowser will get you a key, which is needed to unlock the basement and progress further in the game, specifically to Course 6. The text advises to use the same strategy as against King Bombom. Screenshots show Mario grabbing Bowser's tail, spinning him, and throwing him into bombs around the arena. This page is a guide for Pilotwings 64, focusing on becoming an ace pilot. It covers the fundamentals of flight and how to understand the radar display in the game. The guide also explains a specific task called Hawk Attack and breaks down the scoring system, which awards points for destruction, time, landing precision, and landing impact. It offers advice to help players improve their piloting skills. Pilotwings 64 was released on June 23, 1996 in Japan. This guide, likely for Pilotwings 64, offers 5 flying tips. First, always check mission objectives and the map to plan your flight path. Second, experiment with different viewpoints for better control, especially for vehicles like the rocket belt. Third, use gentle, slow movements with the control stick to avoid losing control. Fourth, pay attention to wind direction on the radar, as it significantly impacts flight, especially for the cannonball and rocket belt. Finally, pause the game frequently to consult the map, reorienting yourself and checking your progress and next objectives. The next page is a feature titled Hang Glider Task Breakthrough Course Number 1. This article seems to be giving tips and strategies for a hang gliding game, focusing on different tasks and skill levels. The page highlights key techniques, such as catching updrafts to gain altitude, achieved by slightly tilting the aircraft upwards when the radar indicates an updraft, but warning against tilting too much to avoid stalling. It also details a photography task, where players need to photograph subjects, ensuring they are large and centered in the frame, advising to match the angle of sample photos for better scores. Landing is covered as well, suggesting reducing speed below 50 km per hour and deploying landing gear below 20 meters. It emphasizes that lower speeds improve landing accuracy, but warns of crashing if the speed is too low. Different skill classes and tasks are introduced. The beginner Albatross Nest class focuses on mastering landing timing by flying straight through aligned rings. The Allison's Photo Cruise class involves taking photos of fire, encouraging players to get close to the smoke for better shots, reassuring them that crashing into the fire won't harm the pilot. Finally, the Allison's Chicken Dive class challenges players to fly through as many rings as possible, especially red ones for higher points, and advises to turn left after passing the rings to land and avoid a cliff. This page is a guide for the game Pilotwings 64, showcasing tips and tricks for various tasks on Holiday Island. It details several B license and P license challenges. The Velocity Square task in B license focuses on mastering updrafts to reach a height of 400 meters. Photo Cruise 2 in the B license is about taking good photos without a time limit, advising players to use updrafts to avoid crashing if they lose altitude. Seagull Wing, another B license task, challenges players to land precisely at the 3-minute mark, suggesting an approach starting around 2 minutes and 45 seconds. The page also provides a brief guide to Holiday Island, describing it as a resort island with hotels, amusement parks, and golf courses, highlighting scenic spots like a cave in the Castle Hill and golf courses. Moving to the P license tasks, Thermal Flyer requires players to ascend above 660 meters by utilizing thermals within a 4-minute time limit. Rising Creek in the P license tasks players to skillfully navigate through at least 8 out of 15 rings, emphasizing the importance of maintaining a high altitude and avoiding lower rings due to recovery difficulty, all within 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Lastly, Photo Cruise 3 in P license is about successfully photographing the shuttle, recommending the use of updrafts near the shuttle to gain height and approach while descending for the shot. This page is a gameplay guide focused on the rocket belt for Pilotwings 64. It teaches players how to effectively use air brakes by pressing the Z trigger, emphasizing its usefulness for quick stops, especially in caves and when landing, but warns about heavy fuel consumption. The guide then highlights tasks specific to the rocket belt, like landing on floating pads and hitting balloons. It advises gentle landings on pads to minimize impact and forceful collisions with balloons to burst them. For landings in general, it recommends switching to a top-down view and using air brakes to land precisely in the center of the target for 0 penalty points. The page showcases examples of tasks categorized by class. For beginners, Aerocrash requires flying straight to a balloon target without crashing to avoid time penalties. For A-rank challenges, Metropolis Dance requires landing within 1 minute and 30 seconds while navigating rings, advising air brakes for direction changes, and speed boosts for consecutive rings, especially vertical ones, where a top-down view is helpful. Another A-rank task, Touch and Go, involves landing on pads in sequence, using a top-down view for accuracy. Landing on pads also refuels the rocket belt, but exceeding 2 minutes results in a time penalty. The next page is an island guide for Everfrost Island, likely from Pilotwings 64. It details 6 different class challenges for this location. The first 3 are B-class challenges. Balloon. Balloon requires you to burst all balloons within 2 minutes and 30 seconds, noting that blue balloons split into multiple yellow balloons. Jingle Road involves passing through rings while they are red, as they only stay red for a short time. Ironhead is about transporting a green balloon to the goal as quickly as possible, emphasizing speed. The following 3 are P-classes challenges. Shadow Route challenges you to fly through a cave without hitting the walls, as contact reduces your score. Diamond Head is about carrying a balloon without dropping it to the ground, and focuses on time. Finally, Touch and Go 2 emphasizes careful air brake usage due to extremely limited starting energy, suggesting energy pads can be used to replenish it. The page also mentions a flag with the N64 logo on top of a snow mountain within this area. Mastering the gyrocopter and Pilotwings 64 requires precise control. In time-limited tasks, aim for a perfect flight path. Use the Z trigger for the scope and missiles, and the R trigger for the pilot's perspective to improve aiming. Landing is crucial. Approach the runway parallel to the strip and reduce speed significantly. 3 task types are presented. Beginner Novice Sling involves a ring pass, 180-degree turn, and landing. A Certificate Skymaster challenges players to pass through all rings within a time limit. A Certificate Strike Ace requires destroying targets and landing within 2 minutes, utilizing the pilot view for easy targeting. This Pilotwings 64 guide provides mission tips for both B and P rank challenges. B rank missions include Mississippi Storm, aim for white rings; Metal Horizon, destroy all targets; and Hawk Attack, defeat the Mecha Hawk with missiles, destroying its projectiles first. P rank missions cover Ice Hornet, navigate rings, check radar, and land quickly; Balloon Rush, destroy balloons with missiles or ramming, manage time; and Hawk Again, defeat the underwater Mecha Hawk by attacking when it surfaces and using missiles to destroy ice projectiles. The game. The guide also highlights Crescent Island, a scenic, crescent-shaped island with a resort area and a rumored underground lake. This page is about extra games in a Nintendo 64 game, presenting different types of extra challenges. It seems to be focusing on gameplay tips for these bonus sections. The first section is titled Cannonball, where players launch a pilot from a cannon to hit targets. The aim is to shoot at targets marked with a bullseye and score points, up to 25 points for a bullseye. It mentions that you get 3 shots per target and the highest score counts. Tips are given on aiming, suggesting aiming slightly above the center of the target and checking the map if the target is obscured. The second section is skydiving, where players control 3 pilots in a skydiving formation. The goal is to create formations while diving and achieve a silver badge to access this challenge. Players need to move the yellow silhouettes to position the pilots correctly and open the parachute after exiting the clouds. The final section, Landing Point, gives advice on landing after skydiving. It emphasizes using left and right rotations and the A button for flares to reach the landing point. It warns against overusing flares, as it can increase landing speed, and advises to avoid overdoing it just before landing. This page showcases 2 exciting games, Jumble Hopper and Birdman. Jumble Hopper is all about jumping and bouncing around using special hoppers attached to your feet. To unlock this, you need to achieve a silver badge or higher in all machine types. The goal is to race through areas, jumping across terrain, and aiming to beat the best time. You're advised to be careful when landing, as touching the ground with anything other than your feet will cost you precious time. You can even land in the sea or rivers for a bit of fun, but be mindful of obstacles. The page also introduces Island Guide 4, Little States, a location that is like a miniature United States, featuring famous landmarks such as the Grand Canyon, Manhattan, and the Statue of Liberty. The central part of the island, called Magic Rock, is a key attraction. You can use rocket belts for relaxed exploration. I even suggest saying hello to the Statue of Liberty if you encounter it. Finally, Birdman lets you soar through the skies with wings of freedom. Unlocking Birdman requires a silver badge or better in beginner-class machines. Initially, you could only fly in the flight area Holiday Island, but by getting silver badges and extra games, you unlock free flight on other islands. You can freely choose the weather conditions and just enjoy unrestricted flight. Repeatedly pressing the A button allows for continuous flight. This article reviews the N64 shogi game, Saikyu Habu Shogi, evaluating its strength through the lens of professional player Katsumata Kiyokazu. The review questions whether the game lives up to its name, leveraging the N64's capabilities to create a strong shogi experience. Katsumata finds the game surprisingly skilled, playing with the speed of a seasoned player, even at higher difficulty levels. He highlights the impressive pace, particularly during standard openings, with moves completed rapidly, resembling no time limit play. Even against amateur players, the game maintains a swift pace. While 10-second mode shows some weaknesses in the later game, Katsumata is overall impressed by the speed and challenge, concluding that the game's quick thinking time is a significant achievement. The game is scheduled for release on August 23rd for 9,800 yen. This page is about shogi strategy in computer games, particularly focusing on the ranging rook opening and its prevalence in amateur shogi software from the time. It mentions that traditionally, Yagura Castle was more common, but ranging rook strategies are often seen with amateur players and in software. The page introduces 3 shogi tactics. 4-file rook, Shiken Bisha, a popular ranging rook strategy, explaining its basic approach and mentioning it's also called ranging rook in the 4th file. It also discusses early stone-piercing battle method countermeasures, referring to tactics against the Hayashida style, which is described as an aggressive opening move. Lastly, it touches on diagonal bishop strategy, a less common or unorthodox tactic, noting its potential but also its risk. The page concludes by suggesting that ranging rook strategies might be more effective in current shogi software, noting that around 50% of games might involve ranging rook. It mentions that the Feather King software, likely referencing a strong shogi program of the time, also utilizes whole bear, another type of castle, in its repertoire. The page recommends that amateur players can learn a lot just by observing these strategies, and that understanding the extensive shogi strategies is beneficial. This page details a replay and analysis of a shogi match, a Japanese board game featuring professional shogi player Habu challenging a computer opponent. The article highlights key moments in the game, broken down into numbered sections. It discusses strategic choices made by both Habu and the computer, such as Habu's zero-time attack opening and the computer's defensive moves. The analysis points out moments of strong play and critical decisions in the match, with comments from Katsumata, another shogi player who is analyzing the game. The article title suggests a practical approach to evaluating the strength of the AI opponent through an actual game replay, rather than just theoretical discussions. It seems to be focusing on the competitive aspect of shogi and how well a computer opponent can perform against a human professional. The article evaluates the N64 shogi game, Habu Shogi, assessing its capabilities for shogi fans. It's stronger than typical PC software, satisfying players up to 4th Dan level, excelling in chaotic battles, and offering fast gameplay. The AI is particularly strong against amateur players and potentially even stronger in study mode. However, its endgame strategy isn't as refined. The article warns against power-based strategies, advising players to build strong positions and exploit AI mistakes. Even experienced players find consistent defense challenging. The conclusion rates Habu Shogi as at least 2nd Dan level, highlighting its intelligence and difficulty for amateurs. It suggests strategic patience and careful play are crucial to overcome the game's formidable AI. This 1996 preview of the Nintendo 64, written shortly after its Japanese launch, features insights from 4 reviewers. The reviewers share initial impressions of the console's hardware, focusing on its design and usability. The console itself is described as a stylish, black unit, comparable in size to the Super Famicom, utilizing the same AV cables. The controller, included with the console, features a unique shape and longer cord than its predecessor. Reviewers offered mixed opinions. While some praised the console's aesthetic, others questioned the eject button and overall durability. The analog stick received universal acclaim for its precision. The controller's shape was considered comfortable, although some felt the 3D stick required some adjustment. The extended cord length was seen as a positive feature. This article previews 3 Nintendo 64 games. Super Mario 64 is lauded for its free-roaming gameplay and sense of wonder, even captivating those unfamiliar with the series. Pilot Wings 64 impresses with its 3D environments, though it's considered less groundbreaking than Mario. Finally, Saikyu Habu Shogi, a shogi game, is praised for its challenging AI, offering a compelling experience for shogi fans. Reviewers comment on the N64's controller, finding it suitable for Super Mario 64. They express a need for stronger software to showcase the console's capabilities, with some lamenting the removal of RGB output. The reviewers highlight the unique strengths of each game, recommending Super Mario 64 for stick control, Pilotwings 64 for graphics, and Saikyu Habu Shogi for performance. This page is a promotional page for the Nintendo 64, featuring the bold text, Nintendo 64 World Domination Plan. The image combines several elements, including Bowser, a city skyline with E3 banners, and a picture of a Nintendo executive. There's also a large stage setting with the Nintendo 64 logo, people in attendance, and images of Wario, cheerleaders or dancers, and Shigeru Miyamoto. The page seems to be highlighting the launch and ambition of the Nintendo 64 to take over the world of gaming. This page is a 96 America E3 show report, detailing the Nintendo 64's debut at the event in May 1996 in Los Angeles. It highlights the excitement surrounding the console and the 31 titles announced. The page showcases a list of Nintendo of America's showcased games, including Super Mario 64, Pilotwings 64, Super Mario Kart R, which later became Mario Kart 64, and Star Fox 64. It also lists titles from various publishers such as Wave Race 64, Kirby's Air Ride, which was eventually released on GameCube and is listed with a slightly different Japanese title, Body Harvest, Tetrasphere, Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire, Cruisin' USA, Buggy Boogie, likely a typo for Buggy Boogie, Ken Griffey Jr., RL, Blast Corps, GoldenEye 007, Killer Instinct, Turok, Dinosaur Hunter, Silicon Valley, FIFA 96, Robotech Crystal Dreams, Ultra Combat, Ultra Descent, Monster Dunk, Mission, Impossible, Freak Boy, Doom 64, Mortal Kombat 64, NBA Hangtime, War Gods, Robotron X, Wayne Gretzky Hockey, and Dead Ahead. The text mentions that Nintendo 64 captivated the world at E3, announcing 31 titles in total. The page features images of the Nintendo booth at E3, with large Mario and Princess Peach inflatable figures, as well as a photo of people gathered around a Nintendo 64 controller. The date, the 23rd of June 1996 within a circle, also points towards the upcoming Japanese release of the Nintendo 64. This page is a preview of Super Mario Kart R, presented as an evolution of the Super Famicom (SNES) game Super Mario Kart for the Nintendo 64. It highlights the game's new 4-player split-screen battles, enabled by the 4 controller ports on the N64 console, and the innovative analog 3D stick control, which allows for fine adjustments when cornering. The game will feature 4 modes: Grand Prix, Time Attack, VS, and Battle. The title screen showcases familiar Mario characters and marks the first appearance of Wario in the Mario Kart series. Additionally, the page includes an interview with Mr. Arakawa, the president of Nintendo of America, NOA, discussing Nintendo's plans to dominate the American market with the N64. Mr. Arakawa mentions the overwhelmingly positive reception to the N64 at a pre-E3 press conference, stating that attendees stood up and applauded. Screenshots demonstrate in-game racing with multiple players, item boxes floating above the track, and in-race rankings displayed. It is noted that Super Mario Kart R was a development title and was later released internationally as Mario Kart 64. This page is focused on the N64 in America and features Mario Kart 64. You can see screenshots showing off both the 2-player split screen and the 4-player mode. They even highlight a new speedometer in the game. The article discusses Nintendo's plans for the US launch of the N64, mentioning a sales target of 1 million units by March. Interestingly, buyers apparently think that target is too low. Production of the N64 for Japan began in June, while production for the US is set to start in September. The article also touches upon the software market, pointing out that while there are tons of games, only a small percentage actually sell well. There's a discussion about Nintendo wanting to maintain quality control in games to ensure they have lasting cultural value, as games aren't essential items like food or clothing. This page is a preview of Star Fox 64 for the Nintendo 64. It highlights the advancements from the Super Famicom Star Fox, emphasizing the speed and improved graphics. The article mentions experiencing thrilling dogfights and feeling like you're actually in the cockpit using the 3D stick. It was showcased at E3 with video footage. The page notes the simultaneous release of the N64 in Japan and America on June 23. In Japan, 3 launch titles are mentioned. For America, which launches on September 30th, there will be more launch titles. The article quotes Mr. Arakawa, stating that 6 titles are planned for simultaneous release in America, and lists 8 possible titles to be selected from, including Super Mario 64, Pilotwings 64, Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire, Wave Race 64, Cruisin' USA, Killer Instinct, Blast Corps, and Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey. The final selection is still undecided. The article also touches on the difference in market reception between Japan and America, using Killer Instinct as an example of a game that was popular in arcades in America but not in Japan, and Mortal Kombat as a similar case, suggesting differences in national character contribute to these market trends. The screenshots feature in-game action of R-Wings flying through detailed environments and dialogue boxes with characters like Slippy Toad. The images showcase the graphical capabilities of the N64. This page showcases the Nintendo 64 and its upcoming game releases, with a focus on the American market. It discusses the 64DD, mentioning its development and future announcement plans. President Arakawa is interviewed, stating that software development is underway, including a Zelda title and 2 other games that will utilize the 64DD's capabilities. The page also notes the difference in packaging design between the Japanese and American Nintendo 64 versions. The screenshots displayed appear to be from a 3D action game, featuring a large robot boss that players will need to defeat using speed and maneuvering, and stages filled with obstacles and enemy aircraft. This page previews Kirby's Air Ride for the N64, highlighting it as a fresh take on the series. It mentions that initial versions were similar to a powered-up Kirby Bowl on the Super Famicom, but this N64 iteration is different. The screenshots show a 3D pastel environment where Kirby is riding a snowboard-like vehicle. The article describes the gameplay as being about performing tricks while sliding and jumping, and that Kirby's body reacts in a squishy way when going through tight spaces. It emphasizes the sense of speed and exhilaration, and notes that 2 to 4 players can play simultaneously in this mode, making it a great competitive game. The bottom of the page shows another screenshot and asks what the flag in the stage might be for, suggesting hidden elements in the levels. The game is described as an action game, where you compete for speed on snowboard-like vehicles. This page showcases Wave Race 64, highlighting it as a marine sports game and the latest iteration in the series. The initial photos apparently featured powerboats, but this version now focuses on jet skis for a more exhilarating race. The article emphasizes the feeling of gliding across the water, incorporating high jumps, realistic water splashes upon landing, and 3D stick controls for nuanced handling. It is described as a deeply immersive game where you can feel the power of the machine as you cut through the waves, making it a very engaging experience, especially perfect for summer. The screenshots illustrate the gameplay from various angles, including a frontal view showcasing the character's determined expression. The N64 Experience Report section mentions that while some might have expected an F-Zero style racer, Wave Race 64 is a completely different type of game, emphasizing the water and speed over pure racing. The text at the bottom proclaims, "Water splashing is super realistic. New screen." The game is confirmed to be developed by Nintendo R&D, with the release date and price yet to be determined. This page highlights Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire for the Nintendo 64. It introduces the game as a 3D shooting title that includes both space and ground combat. Screenshots depict intense action, such as attacking AT-8 walkers with snowspeeders and engaging TIE fighters in space. The article mentions that the game features 3D shooting stages in space and on the ground, all in full 360 degrees. The story is set between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and introduces a new main character named Dash Rendar, who is described as an old acquaintance of Han Solo. Gameplay features include battles in asteroid fields and attacking AT-ATs, with viewpoint switching during gameplay and a possible replay mode. The N64 Experience Report section gives positive feedback, noting that while the game feels fast-paced at first, the controls are responsive and well-suited to the gameplay, and the different game modes are well-defined and engaging. The release date and price are still to be decided at the time of publication. 2 upcoming Nintendo 64 action games are featured: GoldenEye 007 based on the James Bond film, promises more than standard shooting with vehicle combat involving tanks and helicopters, alongside a variety of Bond actions. Screenshots showcase a Russian missile facility and a KGB escape scene. The game emphasizes smooth graphics and vertical aiming to capture the film's feel. Release details are forthcoming. Body Harvest is centered around a storyline of alien insect consumption of humans, involving time travel and diverse locations. The key feature is the wide array of over 130 vehicles, ranging from vintage tanks and paddle steamers to planes and battleships. Players must utilize the correct vehicle for each stage. Screenshots reveal a 1910s Greece setting with an alien encounter on a steamship. Release details are also pending. This page features a preview of the N64 game Blastozer, which was presented at E3 under the title Blast Corps. The game is described as a high-speed, powerful bulldozer action game where you destroy buildings in different colored zones. You play as a power dozer that can transform into a giant robot as you gain experience. The gameplay is touted as dynamic and exhilarating, like a jet coaster ride. Below the preview is a list of Nintendo brand N64 titles announced by Nintendo of America for release in 1996. These include games such as Super Mario 64, Pilotwings 64, Super Mario Kart R, Kirby's Air Ride, Blast Corps, Star Fox 64, Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire, GoldenEye 007, and Wave Race 64. The list also mentions Body Harvest, Buggy Boogie, Killer Instinct, Cruisin' USA, Tetris Fire, and Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball. Most of these games are priced at $69.95, with Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire at $79.95, and Tetris Fire at $49.95. The genres are also listed, such as ACT for action, SLG for simulation, RCG for racing, STG for shooting, and PZG for puzzle game. SPG for sports game. The release status in Japan is noted, with most marked as released in Japan, some as not yet released, and some with uncertain status. The developers for some of these titles are also mentioned, including Nintendo, Paradigm Simulation USA, HAL Laboratory Japan, Rare UK, LucasArts USA, DMA Design UK, Angel Studios USA, Williams USA, and H2O Canada. This page is an E3 show report focused on Nintendo 64 announcements. There's an interview with Shigeru Miyamoto, where he talks about Super Mario 64 and the upcoming 64DD system, mentioning that the core system of Zelda 64 is complete thanks to Mario. It's highlighted that 99% of the games presented at E3 are expected to be released in Japan. Although 64DD software wasn't showcased at E3, Zelda 64, which would later be known internationally as The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, is mentioned as a 64DD title planned for release at the end of the year in Japan and the following year in the US. The page lists noteworthy N64 titles from the show, discussing their potential price points. Games like Killer Instinct, Cruisin' USA, Ken Griffey Jr., Baseball, and Tetrisphere are mentioned. It specifically questions if Killer Instinct, Ken Griffey Jr., Baseball, and Cruisin' USA will see a Japanese release, featuring brief descriptions and screenshots for each. Notably, the screenshots for Killer Instinct and Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball are from the SNES versions. Cruisin' USA is highlighted as a popular arcade port from America. Finally, Creator, referred to as a 64 version of Moving Mario Paint, is brought up and speculated to be a 64DD compatible title, even though there's no official announcement yet. This preview highlights several upcoming N64 games for overseas release. Acclaim's Duloc, a 3D action game, features dinosaur shooting and is nearing completion for a simultaneous US and Japan launch. GT Interactive's Ultra Combat, known as Blade and Barrel in Japan, offers tank combat with a 4-player split-screen mode. FIFA 96 by Electronic Arts, a soccer game with over 100 national teams, leverages the N64's analog stick. Interplay's Ultra Radiant, a 3D shooting game similar to Descent, is coming from PC. Gamatech's Robotic Crystal Dreams is a transforming robot 3D shooter akin to Macross. Finally, Mortal Kombat 64 from Williams/Midway, a fighting game with 26 characters, is almost complete and expected to be a hit. This page showcases overseas N64 software and previews several upcoming N64 games. First up is NBA Hangtime from Williams, a port of the popular arcade basketball game featuring NBA players. It seems to be quite complete and is expected to be a hit, although there's a question mark about whether NBA games will be popular in Japan. Next is War Gods, also from Williams, described as a US hit fighting game, also an arcade port, featuring unique Henteco characters. Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey from Time Warner/Williams is highlighted as a polygon-based hockey game featuring real NHL players, with the system nearing completion. Moving to action titles. Mission Impossible by Ocean of America is a 3D action game based on the Tom Cruise movie where you play a spy. Freak Boy from Virgin Interactive is a mysterious 3D action game, possibly similar to Kirby, with fast-paced action. Finally, Doom 64 by Williams is presented as a 3D shooting game, with high-quality graphics and new maps exclusive to the N64 version, expected to be visually impressive. The page also lists a table of N64 third-party titles announced at E3, featuring games like Turok, Dinosaur Hunter, Silicon Valley, FIFA 96, Robotech Crystal Dreams, Ultra Combat, Monster Dunk, Mortal Kombat 64, and Wayne Gretzky Hockey, published by companies such as Acclaim, Electronic Arts, Ocean of America, and Virgin Interactive. This page is a preview of the N64 game Robotech Crystal Dreams. It is revealed that Robotech is actually Macross. The page highlights the shock and excitement surrounding this announcement at E3. The article mentions that the game is a flight simulator type 3 DSTG shooting game, where players pilot Valkyries. Screenshots show gameplay with detailed cockpits and mecha action. The interview is with R. Rootdoor from GameTech, who explains that this game is viewed as part of the Macross saga. He mentions the deep-rooted feelings associated with Macross and how they are creating the game with a sense of freedom. He also notes that the music is arranged from the anime Macross. Rootdoor expresses interest in the analog stick of the N64, suggesting it will allow for nuanced control where the Valkyrie's direction can be changed independently of the direction of fire. He confidently states that Robotech on the N64 will be the ultimate Macross experience, and that they are aiming to release it in Japan soon, anticipating high expectations. He believes the development is progressing rapidly. This page is an E3 special feature, highlighting upcoming games. The main focus is on the N64 title, Dead Ahead, a fighting adventure game. The article mentions it was secretly in development and suddenly revealed at E3, showcasing beautiful CG scenes and RPG elements reminiscent of D no Shokutaku, which translates to Table of D or Dinner of D, a Japanese horror visual novel. The article emphasizes the Zelda-like battles and strategic gameplay in a field-based environment. There is also a section covering other notable titles outside of N64. Super Donkey Kong 3 for Super NES is mentioned as a globally popular series. For Virtual Boy, Bound High is featured, a 3D action game where you bounce a ball off the floor to erase blocks. Dragon Hopper is also listed for Virtual Boy, where you collect dragon souls. Finally, the Game Boy Pocket's release in the US and Japan is highlighted. This page is a preview of T&E Soft's upcoming N64 puzzle game, Q-on-Pay. Known for their popular golf games, T&E Soft is venturing into the puzzle genre for their first N64 title. The page highlights that Q-on-Pay is a unique puzzle game using cubes, or six-sided shapes, in a way not seen before. This preview finally unveils screenshots of the game, giving a first look at its gameplay, and announcing a planned release in mid-September, although the price is still to be decided. It's described as a thinking-type puzzle game, utilizing a six-sided shape concept. This page introduces the basic rules and features of a cube puzzle game. The core gameplay involves rolling a cube with different colors on each face onto a field of color panels. The aim is to match the color of the top face of the cube with the color of the panel to clear it. The page highlights 3 key points. Firstly, up to 4 players can register their names to compete for high scores in the game, even though it's not a versus mode. Secondly, the controls are simple, using only the D-pad to roll the cube, and there's a practice mode available. Finally, it emphasizes the impressive graphics and effects, noting the visually appealing background CG and the effects when panels are cleared, leveraging the capabilities of the N64 hardware to create a polished puzzle experience. It does not mention an international release title for this game, suggesting it may have been a Japan-only release for the N64. This page is focused on the puzzle game Kuonpei. It highlights the game's addictive and varied modes. The basic gameplay involves rolling a cube to clear color panels. The page introduces two main modes. Normal mode, where you clear stages by collecting a set number of life panels within a time limit. Collecting life panels extends your play, and stage progression increases the number of panels needed and shortens the time limit, demanding quick thinking. The second mode is puzzle mode, which presents prearranged obstacle and life panels, requiring players to clear all life panels within a set number of moves, emphasizing strategic play. Beyond these modes, the game features stages with diverse shapes, meaning stages aren't just simple squares or rectangles, adding complexity to obtaining life panels and requiring more strategic problem solving. The page questions what kind of challenges and surprises await players. This guide outlines 5 basic strategies for a puzzle game, likely PZG, involving a cube and colored panels. Each strategy, named in Japanese, describes a specific pattern for clearing panels. U-type involves a U-shaped cube movement when the top face and adjacent panel share a color. Wall type uses a U-shape to clear straight-line panels. W-type applies a double U-shape for diagonally opposite panels. Straight-line type clears panels 3 spaces away with a straight roll. L-type uses an L-shaped movement for diagonally adjacent panels. The guide emphasizes memorizing and mentally simulating these patterns for efficient color matching and puzzle solving. This page is about the Nintendo 64 game Hyper 3D Baseball 96, also known as Pro Baseball King. The page highlights the game's batting feature and polygon graphics used for the stadium and players. It emphasizes the ability to play from 6 different viewpoints and watch replays from various angles. The game leverages the N64's capabilities for unprecedented presentations, such as a pitcher turning to stone and crumbling after a home run. Screenshots demonstrate gameplay from different camera angles, and a scene of a dead ball where the player is visibly in pain. There are also images showing menu screens and team selection. The text describes the game as having comic-like characters with realistic movements and features various play modes and replay options. It mentions that replays are a highlight of the game's presentation. This page is a preview for the Nintendo 64 baseball game, Welcome to the Ballpark, also known as Hyper 3D Baseball. The page highlights the pitching and fielding aspects of the game, emphasizing the use of the 3D stick for pitching control, allowing for both weak and strong throws. It showcases gameplay screenshots of pitching and batting, and mentions that fielding features fine play and replays from dynamic angles. The game, developed by Imagineer SPG, is scheduled for release in autumn with the price yet to be determined. This page is a survey report titled, Can You Buy N64 on June 23 Without a Reservation? It investigates the Nintendo 64 launch availability in Japan. The survey was conducted between June 5 and 6 and found that pre-orders were largely sold out at supermarkets. Game stores and department store toy sections are suggested as alternatives, though these may also have limited stock. The article mentions that in-store demos of Super Mario 64 are starting from June 14 to build hype for the console launch. There's a table outlining different retail channels and their likely N64 availability. Convenience stores have already finished pre-orders and won't have stock on launch day, focusing on Game Boy Pocket sales. Game stores might allow reservations until just before launch, and large stores in urban areas are recommended. Department store toy sections affiliated with Nintendo Entertainment System shops will have Mario 64 demo units. Mass retailers may have varying stock levels, so going early on launch day is advised. Finally, a present campaign at Toshiba air conditioner shops, where buying an air conditioner enters you in a lottery to win an N64, is also mentioned. The overall message is that getting an N64 on launch day without a pre-order will be challenging, but not impossible, especially if you target game stores and mass retailers early. This page is a store availability report for the Nintendo 64 launch day, June 23. It seems getting your hands on an N64 on launch day might be tricky depending on the store and location. Stores in Tokyo like C and E, and in Osaka like K, indicate that pre-orders are strong and in-store sales might be limited or difficult. However, some stores in Saitama, like G, and Aichi, like I, sound more optimistic about having stock for walk-in customers. Across the board, Super Mario 64 is getting rave reviews from stores, with comments highlighting its quality and fun gameplay, although one store in Kumamoto notes it's not quite the frenzy of the Super Famicom launch. If you're planning to buy on launch day, it sounds like checking store-specific information and maybe calling ahead is a good idea, especially if you are in a major city. A survey of N64 third-party developers reveals 25 companies' planned game releases by March, with 10 already developing. Listed developers include Konami, Enix, Seta, Hudson, and Kemco, among many others. Konami aims to release 5 titles. Seta plans 24, and Hudson will release Bomberman and J-League 11 Beat 1997. Enix is developing 3 titles, including a Wonder Project J sequel. A reader survey highlighted Desired Software. Dragon Quest topped the list, followed by Final Fantasy, Ogre Battle, and fighting/strategy RPGs, reflecting strong interest in familiar franchises and genres from the Super Famicom era, including RPGs and 3D fighting games. This page highlights upcoming Nintendo 64 games from various developers. Athena is planning a Mahjong game for the console. Imagineer has announced 3 titles, including Professional Baseball King, and a baseball game screenshot is shown. Electronic Arts is developing a J-League soccer game for N64, based on FIFA Soccer, and a screenshot is featured. Epoch is working on a Doraemon 3D action game similar to Super Mario 64. T&E Soft's second N64 title will be Kuonpei, with a golf game also mentioned, and a screenshot is visible. There's also a section about expected N64 game makers, ranking Enix at number 1, followed by Nintendo, Square, Chunsoft, and Namco. Enix has commented that they are working on several N64 titles, and are confident in delivering games that meet expectations. Finally, there is a Fanta advertisement promoting a campaign where you can win a Nintendo 64 console or game software by collecting Fanta seals, requiring 15 seals for the console and 5 for a game. There are phone numbers listed for inquiries about the Fanta TV game dial. This article from Inside of Nintendo 64 explores the Nintendo 64 controller's design philosophy, highlighting Nintendo's focus on interface innovation. The piece argues that while console technology improved dramatically, game interfaces lagged behind, primarily adding more buttons without fundamentally changing how players interact with games. Nintendo saw a crucial need for an advanced interface to match the console's power. The article suggests the 3D stick as a solution. With games transitioning to 3D graphics, a more intuitive input method became necessary. The 3D stick enabled natural movement and aiming in 3 dimensions, unlike the limitations of a D-pad. Finally, the article explains analog input. Though digitally processed, the 3D stick captures nuanced player movements, providing a superior degree of control and sensitivity compared to digital controllers and D-pads. This page discusses the new 3D stick controller for the Nintendo 64. It explains that the 3D stick is designed to move in 256 dots horizontally and 256 dots vertically, allowing for 51,445 different signal inputs, which is a significant improvement over the traditional 9 signal inputs of the D-pad. The article highlights that this analog input allows for finer and more nuanced control in games, making movements more analog-like. The page features an interview with Fujimoto from Sita Corporation, who emphasizes that the 3D stick allows for intuitive and detailed control, especially in sports games. He mentions baseball batting, golf putting, and basketball three-point shots as examples that will benefit from this new control method, even mentioning soccer and the actions of a player named Ramos. The article also delves into the history of the D-pad, stating it was conceived by Yokoi Gunpei of Nintendo in 1982 for the Donkey Kong arcade game, and later adapted for the Game & Watch series, highlighting its evolution from 8-bit to 16-bit, and finally to the 3D stick for the 64-bit era. The page also mentions that the focus of Super Mario 64 is how humans can smoothly interact and immerse themselves in the game world, thanks to the 3D stick. This page is showcasing a variety of games across different platforms, highlighting the excitement of new game releases. It poses the question, game new era coming? What will you do? And presents 3 big game machines asking which one to buy. For the Sega Saturn, it features Nights into Dreams, Virtual Fighter Kids, and Saturn Bomberman. For the Nintendo 64, it displays screenshots of Super Mario 64 and Pilotwings 64. It also mentions SFC is also here, listing Super Famicom titles like Fire Emblem, Genealogy of the Holy War, Tales of Phantasia 2, and Star Ocean. The page also advertises monthly Dengeki PlayStation Magazine's 7th issue, priced at 500 yen and releasing on June 15th. In another section, it features Final Fantasy V-2 for PlayStation, with character stats for Cloud, Aerith, and Barret, mentioning Final Fantasy V-2 to BL number 1. There's also an advert for Game DE Date, hinting at Risky H software, related to Tokimeki Memorial. Finally, it promotes Dengeki Boy's Strongest Comics, with new Saint Beasts Joga 1 comic, set to release on July 10th, and also mentions Super God Z1 comic, which is already on sale. It also mentions a radio drama and drama CD for Saint Beast. This page showcases advertisements for various Japanese fantasy light novels and related books. It features series like Fortune Quest, Crystallania, Mad Science Hunter RE, Five Spirit Nights, and Dungeons & Dragons game scenarios. Each advertisement highlights the title, author, illustrator, and price, and some mention release dates and radio drama adaptations. The page promotes these fantasy publications to readers. This page is an advertisement for a growth method course program, promising height increase. It claims you can grow 10 centimeters taller in just 1 month, with 20 minutes of daily video-guided training. The ad highlights the difference in height, and states, height difference is the difference in life. It mentions a DNA system, and features testimonials from satisfied customers who claim to have grown taller using this method. This page is an advertisement for the Super Famicom game, Fire Emblem, Genealogy of the Holy War, subtitled, Love and Destiny Yggdrasil Battle Chronicle Part 3. The page features artwork depicting a poignant scene of two characters embracing, accompanied by text hinting at a tragic love story, mentioning themes of reunion, loss, and destiny. The advertisement highlights game features, such as a complete strategy guide for the first half and final battles, and a special focus on the romance system. The game was developed by Nintendo for the Super Famicom console, is an RPG requiring 32 MB of memory, and was on sale for 7,500 yen at the time of publication. The artwork is credited to Ayumi Kono, and the copyright is dated 1996. This page is a strategy guide for the Super Famicom game Fire Emblem, Genealogy of the Holy War, covering the prologue chapter titled Holy Knight Birth. It details the beginning of Sigurd's journey to rescue Aiden from the Kingdom of Velveeta. The guide includes a map with numbered points of interest and tactical advice, such as capturing villages within 11 turns to obtain a speed ring item, and noting enemy commanders DiMaggio and Gerald. Character relationships are highlighted, showing family and friendly connections between characters like Culian, Ethlin, Finn, Azel, and Lex, and enemies like DiMaggio and Gerald. Screenshots illustrate key gameplay moments and character dialogues. The page focuses on providing early-stage battle strategy and understanding character dynamics in the game. This page is about the Super Famicom game Fire Emblem, Genealogy of the Holy War, specifically Chapter 1, Girl of the Spirit Forest. It details the story setup, where Sigurd's army is moving on Velden Kingdom after the fall of Evan's castle. The second prince of Velden, Kinboys, uses the warrior Ira from Isaac Kingdom to oppose Sigurd. Ira, not originally hostile to Sigurd, will join if Prince Shannon, imprisoned in Genoa Castle, is rescued. The page highlights key characters, including Deirdre, Sigurd, Ira, and Shannon, and their relationships. The page provides map data and shop data, with item prices such as Iron Sword, Iron Spear, Steel Sword, and Steel Axe. It also lists item acquisition conditions for items like Steel Sword, Skill Ring, Warp Staff, Return Staff, and Magic Ring, detailing how to obtain them by defeating specific enemies or meeting characters. Battle and story digest sections show key moments and dialogue from the chapter. The strategy points section suggests tactics such as letting Eden and Dew escape, encountering Deirdre in the forest, and using the Silent Staff on Sandima within his attack range. This page is a strategy guide excerpt for the Super Famicom game Fire Emblem, Genealogy of the Holy War, focusing on Chapter 2, Augustria's Rebellion. The page details character relationships and provides gameplay information. Character portraits and connections are shown for key figures like Sigurd, Lakshay, Holin, Levin, Sylvia, Chagall, Ethlin, Eldigan, and others. The page features shop data, listing in-game items with prices such as Steel Sword, Iron Spear, Steel Bow, and Thunder. Map data is also included. Item acquisition conditions are outlined, explaining how to get items like the Light Sword, Steel Spear, Thief Sword, Return Ring, Barrier Ring, Brave Spear, Elite Ring, Shield Ring, Sleep Rod, Night Killer, Recover Rod, Bargain Bracelet, Steel Axe, Devil Sword, and Night Ring. Tips are provided in the Strategy Points section, advising quick progression and caution against magic attacks. The Battle and Story Digest section offers a narrative overview of the chapter's events. Conditions for recruiting certain characters like Holen, Lacuche, and Beowulf are also specified. Chapter 3 of Fire Emblem. Genealogy of the Holy War. Lion King Eltshon covers Sigurd's campaign in Augustria. This strategy RPG chapter features a map with key locations and focuses on Sigurd's conflict with Eltshon. Players can buy various weapons at the shop. All characters in the chapter become allies. The guide details item acquisition, such as specific swords and staves obtained through defeating enemies or liberating villages. It also outlines character relationships, highlighting connections between Sigurd's forces, Augustria, the Dark Cult, and Thracia. Key plot points involve Diodora's kidnapping and the relationship between Eltshon and Lachesis. Talking to Lachesis with Eltshon can avoid a battle. The guide provides gameplay hints, like using Fury to rescue Brigid. This page is a strategy guide for Chapter 4, Dancing in the Sky, of what appears to be a strategy RPG, likely from the Fire Emblem series, although it is not explicitly named here. The guide focuses on tactical advice for the Flames of War scenario, advising players to defeat Pegasus Knights and Wind Mages. The page is divided into sections, starting with the map story and tactics. Scenario 1, Allied Return to Home Country, describes the characters Cunian, Ethlin, and Finn returning home at the start of Chapter 4, and advises players to sell their equipment at a used weapon shop beforehand. Scenario 2, Advance to Torv Castle, details Myos' army's advance from Siren Castle to Torv Castle, with character dialogues occurring during the advance. The page provides Torv army deployment data and Silesia army deployment data, listing enemy unit types and levels. It also includes a check section about optimal owners of important items, listing several in-game items like Sword of Light, Thunder Sword, and Brave Sword, with the recommended characters to equip them, such as Era, Holen, Sigurd, and Alec. 2 dialogue screenshots are included, hinting at character interactions and story progression during this chapter. One mentions the growth of Solis and searching for something, and another shows Tiltuanazel talking, mentioning different ways of thinking. This Fire Emblem. Genealogy of the Holy War strategy guide focuses on castle battles, providing map data for Serene and Torv castles, including shops and available items like wind magic and return rings. The guide offers strategy tips for specific combat scenarios. These tips cover fighting the Kupri Corps, using sleep staves, defending against Pegasus Knights, countering mage fighters, using Thief Do at Torv Castle, attacking Torv Castle using ranged attacks, and returning to Serene for repairs. An arena section lists character stats, including Kemal, Kaladin, and others. Bosses Kupri, Sleep/Lizard Staff user, and Myos, Tornado Magic user, Lord of Torv, are detailed. IG. Item acquisition includes the hero's bow and rescue staff. The guide also advises players to class change characters at level 20. This page is a strategy guide page for a tactical RPG, likely focused on a scenario involving battles in Silesia and Tove Castle. The page details Martania's tragedy and the battles against the Zakusan army and units led by Donovan. It gives enemy unit deployment data, including levels and classes like Generals, Pegasus Knights, Wind Mages, Warriors, and Axe Fighters. A key tactic highlighted is rescuing escaping villagers to gain a large experience bonus, and defeating Axe Fighters who are pursuing them. For the castle battles, the guide suggests drawing out enemies and using archers effectively in Tove Castle, ultimately focusing on defeating Donovan using units with steel swords to exploit his weaknesses. The page emphasizes tactical approaches to overcome the enemy forces. This page is a strategy guide for Fire Emblem, Genealogy of the Holy War. It details the tactics for capturing Silesia Castle and moving on to Zaxxon Castle. The guide highlights that pairing Fury and Levin leads to a romantic relationship, and bringing Levin to Silesia Castle allows you to obtain the legendary weapon Forseti. It offers battle strategies, like ambushing Ramia's forces in the forest and using Itera and Thunder Mages for direct attacks, while utilizing sword fighters for ranged attacks against sorcerer fighters. The page also focuses on the character Du, explaining how to effectively use him to steal money and level up, and mentions boss characters Pamira and Donovan, as well as the item Forseti. This page is dedicated to Chapter 5, Door of Destiny, Part 1, of a strategy RPG, likely Fire Emblem, Genealogy of the Holy War, although not explicitly named here. The page focuses on map strategy and tactics. It details the scenario where Sigurd's army, preparing to depart from Zaxxon Castle, encounters a wounded knight, who is actually Lord Byron, Sigurd's father. The initial objective in Narrated is to rescue Lord Byron, but enemy forces are positioned between Byron and Zaxxon Castle. The page outlines two key enemy groups. A large force appearing after Byron's rescue, led by Slider and Andre, brother of Aidan and Brigid, from Lubbock Castle. Tactical advice emphasizes quickly defeating enemies within the first turn to ensure victory. It suggests utilizing Sylvia's special ability, gathering fast units at her maximum movement point, and using the Odori command to allow units to act again. The page shows maps with unit placements and enemy unit data tables for Rangobard, Slider, and Andre's forces, listing unit types like generals, mountain thieves, iron archers, axe knights, and bow knights. This strategy guide for Fire Emblem, Genealogy of the Holy War, focuses on the castle map. It details specific battle strategies and boss encounters. Key sections include the Lubbock Army pincer attack, which outlines defensive strategies around Byron Castle, and Village Liberation, which emphasizes a defensive approach to capture villages. After capturing Zaxxon Castle, Father's Remains describes Sigurd receiving the legendary turfing sword from Byron. Battles against Andre and Langobald, detailed in sections 7 and 8, provide tactical advice, including using specific weapon types and exploiting enemy weaknesses. Map data provides enemy unit information, including classes, levels, and items. The guide also covers boss strategies for Slater and Langobald, and explains a weapon-based special ability mechanic triggered after defeating enemies. This page is a strategy guide for Chapter 5 of a strategy RPG, likely from the Fire Emblem series given the character names and locations. The chapter is titled Destiny's Door and focuses on Kion's Crisis, Alvis's Trap, Farewell Friend, and In the Desert. The guide describes the story context, where after the Battle of Lubbock Castle, Kion's army is pursued by Dragon Knights. Alvis is also sending magic knights from Fenora Castle, and is revealed to be connected to the Dark Cult. Tragically, Eslin is defeated, and Altena is captured by Trabant. The strategy section for the desert battle advises players to use infantry units like Ira and Holin as frontline fighters against the approaching Dragon Knight units, who are equipped with Nightkiller weapons effective against mounted units. It also suggests using archer characters in the back to counter flying units. The guide highlights that many characters can have conversations after this battle. The page includes unit data for the Leinster Kingdom Army led by Kion and Eslin, the Thracia Kingdom Army led by Trabant, and Vaha's squad, listing unit types and levels. A map is shown with the route of Sigurd's army, and key locations like Lubbock Castle, Fenora Castle, Veltimer Castle, and Barhara Castle. This page covers strategy tips for the Super Famicom game Fire Emblem, Genealogy of the Holy War. It details tactics for different stages, including dealing with Dragon Knights and Fire Mages in the Scorching March, attacking Fenora Castle while avoiding sleep spells and powerful magic, and confronting Reptor Sortie from Veltimer Castle. The guide advises using Fury to defeat mountain-based mages and progressing cautiously. Map data lists Lubbock and Fenora castles in the monastery central area, identifies Vaha and Reptor as bosses with descriptions of their combat styles, and notes no item is listed. A column discusses legendary weapons like Mistletoe, Gay Bolg, and Thor Hammer, mentioning their significance in the early story and their inheritance by children later on. This page is a love Q&A section featuring Tiltu and Sylvia, offering relationship advice related to the game Fire Emblem, Genealogy of the Holy War, which was never released outside of Japan. The first question, from Ardon, is about how to get a girlfriend when he is always guarding the castle. The advice given is to be constantly near the person you like, as girls get lonely, especially during battles or sieges, and they desire a romantic connection. The next question comes from Lachesis, a princess unsure of what kind of person she should fall in love with. Tilto and Sylvia advise her to be honest with her feelings and be proactive. They suggest that talking is key to advancing love. If still uncertain, they recommend choosing someone with the blood of the 12 holy warriors. Fury asks about connecting with her shy prince partner, Tilto. Tilto explains that love progresses through stages. No interest, concerned about, like, love, and connected. She advises Fury to deepen their love step by step, as jumping stages is not possible. Finally, Jamuka inquires if the items received change depending on whether characters are lovers. Tilto is surprised someone would pursue a relationship for items. Sylvia confirms that item rewards can change based on love relationships, specifically citing the example of Aideen's sister in Fire Emblem, Genealogy of the Holy War. She mentions that items are given at the beginning of Chapter 4 in conversations with Aideen's sister, but this is the only confirmed instance. This page is a strategy guide for Fire Emblem, Genealogy of the Holy War. It focuses on character pairings and relationships in the game, offering advice and suggestions for best couples based on skills and bloodlines. The page discusses several female characters: Brigid, Aranis, Lachesis, Sylvia, Tailtiu, and Ira. It presents questions from characters about love and relationships, and then answers them with advice related to gameplay and character pairings. For example, Brigid asks about staying single, and the answer suggests she should find love. Aranis asks what to do if her partner dies, and the advice is to move on. For each female character, the guide lists potential male partners like Mixdale, Dew, Jamka, Alec, Noish, Claude, Azel, Lex, Jamka, Levin, and Holin, and gives a conclusion on the best pairing based on skills, bloodline, and story context. There's also a top 3 husbands ranking with Levin at number 1, Rex at number 2, and Dew at number 3, based on factors like their lineage and skills. The page promotes the idea of strategic character pairings to optimize gameplay in Fire Emblem, Genealogy of the Holy War. This page provides data crucial for the final battles of Fire Emblem. Genealogy of the Holy War, implied. It's divided into enemy, weapon, and item sections. The enemy data details boss characters like Kubri and Donovan, listing their stats, class, level, HP, etc., weapons, and skills. Weapon data covers items like the Forseti and Yusha no Yumi, outlining their stats, level, hit, power, range, weight. Item data details staffs like Recover Staff and Rescue Staff. Additionally, a Reader Jump-In Information section features player-submitted tips on finding hidden items, including the Yusha no Yumi and Suigeki Ring, and the Kaze no Ken and Mamori no Ken count. Finally, a section encourages readers to submit their own Fire Emblem experiences and discoveries. This page is about the Super Famicom game Fire Emblem, Genealogy of the Holy War. It highlights several mysteries left unanswered in the first half of the game. The article discusses the mystery surrounding Culian and Ethlyn's fate, the uncertainty of Ethlyn's death, the questions about the children left behind, and the ambiguous ending of the first part of the story, where Sigurd's army is caught in Barhara and their fates are unclear. The article suggests all these mysteries will be revealed in the second half of the game. It also mentions the magical sword Mistletoe, and questions its whereabouts and fate, and notes that Eltshon's true death is uncertain. The article is prompting players to anticipate the second half of the game to find answers to these unresolved plot points and character fates. This page is an advertisement for Dragon Quest II-I, a Super Famicom game that is being described as making a comeback on the SFC system. The advertisement highlights the fully realized system and grand world of adventure, the emotional story, and how everything has been powered up for its SFC revival. It proclaims this is the definitive RPG experience and a new work in the Dragon Quest series. The page features a screenshot of the game's world map and party of characters, but it also mentions that release dates and prices are still to be determined, and that Enix is the publisher. This page showcases the astonishing graphics of a game, emphasizing its impressive visual quality. It highlights the beautiful imagery created by light and shadow, exemplified by a village scene nestled deep within a forest, designed to enhance the atmosphere. The article praises the meticulously detailed graphics, comparing them to a painting. Screenshots display gameplay with character sprites and battle scenes featuring monster encounters. The text accompanying the screenshots appears to show in-game stats and combat dialogue, mentioning character names like Enix, Yubu, Manabu, and Sugion, along with numerical values. In a battle scene, the dialogue, Ganirus A's attack, critical hit, and Enix's 31 is displayed. The page culminates by declaring the game achieves the series' highest quality, asserting that every aspect of the graphics and battle animations is crafted with utmost care and dedication to create a masterpiece. This page is dedicated to Dragon Quest II-I, The Seeds of Salvation, highlighting it as a pinnacle of RPG evolution, building upon the foundations of Dragon Quest I and II. The page states that Dragon Quest II-I completes the Legend of Roto story, promising to reveal all mysteries. The protagonist is described as a young 16-year-old from Aliahan, embarking on a quest to receive the king's gift and journey into the world, like their heroic father. The adventure expands beyond Aliahan to include diverse lands like the desert kingdom of Isis and the Yamato-inspired Zipangu. The climax of the story is emphasized as revealing the secrets of Roto from Dragon Quest I and II. The battle section emphasizes the strategic depth and intense combat of Dragon Quest II on. Compared to its predecessors, battles are described as significantly more challenging due to richer monster attack patterns and the introduction of vocations or classes. The vocation system greatly impacts party composition and battle strategy. For instance, a warrior-heavy party allows for aggressive melee combat, while a mage-focused party emphasizes magic. Players can customize their battle approach, enjoying the process of finding the optimal strategy and party setup. This page is about the system of Dragon Quest II. It highlights two main elements: the job change system and the distinction between day and night. The job change system allows for character customization and training different classes like warriors, mages, priests, and heroes. The day and night cycle is also discussed as a key feature where towns change appearance and different events and monsters occur depending on the time of day, making the game world feel more real. The page also points out familiar monsters appearing and the enhanced backgrounds which add to the game's appeal. Screenshots show day and night scenes in a town, along with monster encounters in battle with animal zombies and killer bees. This page is a preview of the Super Famicom RPG Star Ocean. The focus is on the game's storyline element of Journey to the Past and the truth behind it. The game is described as a large-scale SF fantasy RPG, emphasizing character development and skill systems, which are key features of the Star Ocean series. The preview delves into the narrative, explaining that the people of Roanoke possess substances invisible to Earthlings, which the nation of Lazonia is exploiting to create petrifying bacteriological weapons. These weapons were not developed by Lazonia alone, but provided by a mysterious force. To create a vaccine, a specific bacteria obtainable only from Roakian creatures is needed. Therefore, to save the petrified Roakians, the protagonist must journey to past Roakinoke to find this creature. The article reveals the method of time travel is through time gate technology, a highly advanced but forbidden Earth technology. The protagonists, including Ratty, utilize this to travel to the past, but are considered lawbreakers and must evade the Earth Federation's forces while aiming to reach the gate. The time gate is monitored by guardians who authorize specific individuals to travel through time. These guardians have approved Ratty and his companions to travel to the past to save Roke by venturing through the gate. Screenshots illustrate in-game scenes related to dialogues and environments, emphasizing the time travel aspect of the game. This page is a character introduction spread for the game Star Ocean. It showcases several characters from the game, including Ratty X Ference, Millie Kiliote, Dorn Marstito, Siccus Warren, Illyria Sylvalis, and Roni Cax J. Keen. Each character has a portrait and a brief description highlighting their roles and personalities in the game's world. The page is titled Star Ocean Character Introduction and is from a publication, number 137 of the magazine. This guide details key locations and events in the past of Rocktown in Star Ocean, the second story. Players begin in Clayto, the village of nostalgia, and can interact with villagers to learn about Millie and Ronnie. Hot, the Mountain Pass Junction, offers a vibrant market and private actions. To progress, players must journey to Port Miss through Metox Mountain. A notable private action involves Eulalia and the potential purchase of earrings, influencing the relationship with her. Port Miss, a bustling port city, requires a permit for entry. The ultimate goal is to reach the Astral Kingdom via ship. However, players encounter an event, the urgent assault on the Sea Bandit hideout, where they must attack the hideout to clear the way for travel. This page details locations and events in Star Ocean, the second story. Otanemu, a port town, is a gateway to the Astral Kingdom, and features a reluctant character, Sinicus, who avoids going there despite its appeal. A private action event sees Ronixus teaching Millie barrier magic. Tatroy, a trading hub with an arena for monster battles, provides access to Astral Castle via a canal. Players can become champions through one-on-one battles. An event in Tatroy involves a mysterious figure entering a cave. Astral, a heavily guarded military nation with the powerful Astral Knights, attracts aspiring knights. Finally, an event reveals Sinicus is the son of the Astral Knights leader, but he seems displeased by this. Quote, "This page is an analysis of a skill system in a role-playing game, and from the screenshots, it appears to be discussing the skill system in Star Ocean, The second story. The article explains that skills, referred to as abilities, are acquired by consuming skill points. You don't start with skills immediately. Instead, you must learn them first, usually by visiting a skill guild in towns. At the skill guild, skills can be purchased which are categorized into different genres. Higher level skills are more expensive. To use a skill, you must first master it by spending skill points, SP, which are gained by leveling up your characters. Once acquired and mastered, skills can be used outside of battle by selecting skill from the command menu. The page details 4 categories of skills: knowledge, technical, sensory, and combat. Knowledge skills are related to academic subjects like biology and psychology, often not useful on their own. Technical skills involve crafting and item creation. Sensory skills relate to art and perception, including faith and psychic abilities. Combat skills, like counterattacks and feints, are useful in battle. The article emphasizes that skill points are limited, meaning you can't master every skill to the maximum. Therefore, careful skill point allocation is crucial throughout the game to create a personalized and effective character build. The game allows for strategic character development through skill specialization. This page is all about the special skills, or tokugi, in Star Ocean. It highlights how to make use of these skills effectively in the game. The page explains that mastering skills is important, and when the stars next to a skill name turn white, that character can use special skills. The level of special skills is based on the average level of related skills. The page details 2 main ways to use special skills: through the special skill command and the item command. The special skill command is used during exploration, like the dash skill. The item command is used for things like item creation. Talent is also emphasized as a key element for special skills. It's mentioned that talent influences the success rate of special skills, even if the skill level is high. The page also mentions that characters have preset talents and that hidden talents can be discovered by improving related skills, suggesting a deep system for character development and skill utilization within Star Ocean. This page showcases a hidden event in the Super Famicom RPG, Treasure Hunter G. It highlights one of the 20 hidden events in the game, specifically a secret casino found beneath the regular Frog Casino. To access this hidden casino, players need to input the password Kero Kero at a frog statue within the main casino, which then reveals a secret elevator. Inside, players face a challenging series of 3 minigames that must be cleared consecutively. These games are detailed as a frog race, where you aim to finish first, a fly-catching game, and a jump ball avoidance game. The screenshots on the page show scenes from these minigames and the password input process, emphasizing the reward of money for success in the hidden casino. This page highlights gameplay tips for Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber. It starts with a tip about rat extermination in Luri Town, where helping with the rat problem can earn you up to 1,000 give. Another tip reveals that hitting laundry in Tanya Town gets you hard clothes. The page also points out hidden hohi-hohi dolls on shop walls in Gorgobina Port Town and elsewhere, which grant money when found. Cutting grass in front of Mora's house in Luri Town repeatedly earns you money, starting with 200 give and decreasing with each attempt. After the fire event in Luri Town, armor can be obtained for free once at the Savia Town Armor Shop due to the shop owner's sympathy. Hidden ascetics are mentioned in Abnova Mountain, who give items when discovered, and their locations change after events. Lastly, it's advised to sell stinky boots in Acris Port Town for 500 give instead of discarding them, as they can confuse equipment. The next page unveils secret tips for the game Custom Robo V2. Starting with a secret in Sibia Town's armor shop, you can enter a hidden changing room behind a curtain, where you might find Guru Nezumi enemies. In Golkabina Port Town, investigating a small hole outside the inn and defeating the Guru Nezumi that appear will earn you a free night's stay. Ruli Town Plaza hides money if you search the sandy areas. Tanya Town encourages you to hit beehive trees, triggering wasp battles, with delicious oyatsu as a reward for victory. Valor Academy holds a special weapon, the Singing Delusion Sword, in its drawers, which induces a delusion state in enemies during combat. In Ruli Town, after the Iron Bird bomb event but before going home, visit Hangabalt's house while he's out to sneak a peek at his diary, which seems to be all about Mora. Lakule Town offers rewards like Attack Ring for simply knocking on doors, with different reactions elsewhere when you try knocking. Lastly, in Noi Forest, help a child find their lost goat Marilyn, and you'll be rewarded with a rare item called Nico Nico doll. Marilyn is said to be easily found within the forest. This RPG gameplay guide reveals several secrets and events. In Farua School, attacking the king of Oroche Castle during his temporary party join results in a game over due to his self-destruct. In Dahara Forest, defeating Volt Goose grants 6,000 give, easily achieved using Ponga magic. Returning later reduces the reward to 3,000 give, attributed to heavenly taxes. Before sleeping at an inn, character dialogue and reactions change based on the situation and party members, with examples of dream-related and fearful comments. Finally, in Aklis Port Town, players must immediately find and give a high potion to a wounded whale. Staying at an inn first leads to the whale's death. This page is titled Kabira Brothers Ekisute Gokudo, featuring a challenge by the Kabira brothers against Tasaka Kazuaki, a J-League player from Belmare Hiratsuka. It questions if a current J-League player's skills are genuine in the Ekisute context. The page interviews Tasaka Kazuaki, described as a defensive midfielder and a dynamo of the midfield. He is 24 years old and born in August. Tasaka is depicted as a game enthusiast who enjoys playing Super Famicom, Super Nintendo, even in hotels and against other famous players. The interview covers his thoughts on the game and his opponent, and mentions he enjoys playing against Antlers and Verdi in games. The Kabira brothers and the J-Leaguer are shown to have played to a draw in individual matches, with a combined score of 41 overall. Readers have a chance to win a signed paper from Tasaka Kazuaki as a prize for readers. This page is a reader's present section celebrating the Nintendo 64 launch. There are 8 numbered sections, each offering a prize for a certain number of people. Section 1 is for Super Mario 64 by Nintendo, offering it to 3 people. Section 2 is for Pilotwings 64, also by Nintendo, for 3 people. Section 3 is for Saikyu Habu Shogi, a shogi, Japanese chess, game by Seta, for 3 people. This game was not released outside of Japan and is called Habu Meijin no Shogi Juku in full. Section 4 is for Kusu Kagaku Sekai Gulliver Boy by Bandai, offered to 3 people. This is based on the anime Gulliver Boys. Section 5 is for Jikyu Powerful Pro Yakyu 96 Kaimakuben by Konami, a baseball game, for 3 people. Known internationally as Power League Professional Baseball, or Major League Baseball featuring Ken Griffey Jr. outside Japan, although this specific 96 Kaimakuben version is likely Japan-specific. Section 6 is for Kimura Mayumi Gashu Pure White, an art collection by FREEWWE, for 3 people. This is likely an art collection by illustrator Mayumi Kimura. Section 7 is for Subete ga F ni Naru, The Perfect Insider F by Victor Entertainment Inc., an adventure game, for 10 people. This game was not released outside of Japan. Section 8 is for Maki Mochida Telecard, for 5 people. This is a telecard featuring Maki Mochida, related to the musical Witch's Delivery Service. It mentions her song, Tabidachi no Uta, Song of Departure. This page is from the Secret Technique Hall main store, and it focuses on providing secret techniques, specifically for Supergusen Oyoyo 2 on the Super Famicom. It describes how to unlock 2 extra options in the game. The first, Data Clear, is unlocked by setting the Aider to Emiri, Joji, or difficulty to Tauntaun, or higher, and clearing all 40 stages. The second option, Ranking, becomes available after unlocking Data Clear, and then clearing all 40 stages again with a different character and the same difficulty settings. These options allow you to reset save data to the initial state and view rankings and best times for each stage. This page features secrets and cheat codes for Super Famicom games. On the left, for the game Rudra's Hidden Treasure, it reveals the strongest Kotodama, which is Muteki, invincible. Entering this word makes you immune to physical attacks in the game, as demonstrated in the screenshot. On the right side, it's all about Super Formation Soccer 96, detailing special name inputs. By entering specific names at the name entry screen, you can trigger various effects. The page lists names like Pass, National, Clear, Shoot, and Perfect, each with effects such as starting at the ending, beginning from the national tournament, clearing saved data, maximizing kick power, and maximizing all player abilities respectively. Finally, Below Superformation Soccer 96, there is information on unlocking hidden teams in Superformation Soccer 96 World Club Edition. It details how to access the Masters, Human, and All-Star teams by inputting button combinations A plus Y plus L, A plus Y plus R, A plus Y plus Select, respectively, all while holding X during the team selection screen in exhibition mode. The page showcases these hidden teams and screenshots, and mentions that the All-Star team is made up of world-class players. This page is about Super Bomberman 4 and Kirby Superstar games. For Super Bomberman 4, it provides a list of passwords to unlock various features, such as starting in a full power-up state from different stages, changing block layouts in battle mode groups 2, 3, and 4, disabling boss power downs, and turning the winning character gold in battle mode. A tip for Kirby Superstar is given, explaining how to obtain the Copy No Moto Deluxe item by going to the green star above the sky-high area on the world map and completing the hidden stage. Lastly, it features 3 passwords for Karakuri Mero game that can be used for starting with high scores and extra lives. This page is a collection of cheat codes and tips for Super Famicom and Game Boy games. For Rudra no Hihao, a Japan-exclusive RPG, there's a cheat to remove text display by creating a specific phrase in the Sakusei command and registering it on the last page. Gundam Wing Endless Duel, a fighting game, has a tip to listen to the full song on the title screen by repeatedly pressing up, down, and either B, A, or Y buttons. Super Black Bass 3 includes a background changing feature in the record selection screen by pressing X button on controller 2 and then pressing a direction on controller 2 to change the background. In Dragon Ball Z Hyperdimension, you can activate Calm vs. Calm mode by pressing the Y button at the character selection screen in Tenkaichi Budokai mode. For New Yatterman, there's a hidden graphic accessible by entering the names of Duranjo and other characters as a password. Finally, Netu Tushinden on Game Boy has a dialogue check mode, accessed by inputting a button combination during the Takara logo display. BA left, right, BA down, up, BA. This page also encourages readers to submit their own cheat codes, and features a ranking system for submitted tips, offering prizes such as store vouchers for top-rated submissions like Special Rank, Pine Rank, Bamboo Rank, and Plum Rank. This page is a strategy guide for a horse racing game, possibly from the Derby Stallion series, focusing on using Satellaview features within the game. It details monthly tactics for breeding strong racehorses, highlighting specific stallions like Steelheart and Tosho Boy, and discussing their characteristics for breeding. The page also outlines monthly information on special in-game races such as the Satella Sprint Stakes and Satella Derby, as well as Sharudo and Ikuno Dictus Memorial races, which require Satellaview data. It includes rules for a player competition related to these races, instructions on how to apply, and distribution horse information for Sharudo and Ikuno Dictus, providing one-point strategy tips for breeding and racing success. This page presents an in-depth look at horse breeding strategies, likely within a horse racing or breeding simulation game. It focuses on a breeding combination called Northern Taste X Cutting Cheese, highlighting its potential for creating valuable foals. The page features a table that predicts the price level of foals based on their growth type: early, normal, late blooming, very late blooming, extremely late blooming, and overall level. It explains that higher level numbers indicate stronger horses, particularly at level 13, which is considered explosive speed suitable for top-tier races. The table shows price ranges in thousands, with early maturing types generally fetching higher prices at lower levels, while late maturing types can reach very high prices at higher levels. There's a one-point check section recommending the Northern Taste bloodline as a popular and effective breeding strategy, especially when combined with speed and stamina-focused parentage. It suggests aiming for interesting breeding that goes beyond the basic combinations, potentially referencing the Northern Taste X Cutting Cheese example as something to try. Finally, a section titled Representative Offspring details 2 horses, McBarnell and Cutting Cheese, providing their parentage, prices, and performance characteristics. McBarnell is noted for its super early maturity and high price, excelling in speed, stamina, and fighting spirit. Cutting Cheese is also mentioned as a high-priced horse with exceptional speed and stamina being reinforced through inbreeding. The page concludes with a general message about the breeding season and choosing stallions, emphasizing the importance of speed and stamina in breeding. This page is a chart of the top 50 best-selling games in Japan during the period of April 29th to May 26th, with Super Bomberman 4 at number 1. The chart details a list of games with their sales percentages and console type, primarily for SFC and PS platforms, along with SS and other consoles. A pie chart breaks down the market share by console, showing SFC with the largest share, followed by PS, then SS, and lastly Other. A screenshot from Super Bomberman 4 is shown, depicting Bomberman in a maze-like level. Some of the games listed include Super Mario RPG, Fire Emblem, Genealogy of the Holy War, Tekken 2, Kirby Superstar, Hoshi no Kirby Super Deluxe, Resident Evil, Biohazard, Dragon Ball Z Hyperdimension, Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Kong Quest, Super Donkey Kong 2 Dixie and Diddy, Jumping Flash 2, Yoshi's Island, Super Mario, Yoshi Island, Puyo Puyo 2 Remix, Dragon Quest VI, Realms of Revelation, Dragon Quest VI, Maboroshi no Daiichi, Treasure Hunter G, Gundam Wing, Endless Duel, Shin Kidu Senki Gundam W, Endless Duel, and Derby Stallion 96. This page showcases various software rankings and charts from the magazine. At the top left, the pre-release N64 Software Top 5 highlights the most anticipated N64 games, topped by Super Mario 64, followed by Super Mario Kart 64, tentative title, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, tentative title, Pilotwing 64, and Saikyu Habu Shogi. Screenshots feature Super Mario 64. Below this, the pre-release SFC Software Top 5 lists anticipated Super Famicom titles, led by Star Ocean and Dragon Quest II-1, and Into the Legend, along with Street Fighter Alpha 2, SimCity Junior, and Uncharted Waters, New Horizons. A Star Ocean screenshot is included. On the bottom left, the post-release SFC Software Top 5 ranks best-selling Super Famicom games, with Dragon Quest VI, Realms of Revelation at the top, followed by Final Fantasy VI, released internationally as Final Fantasy II-I, Super Mario RPG, Chrono Trigger, and Tactics Ogre. Dragon Quest VI is shown in a screenshot. The top right features a chart detailing the number of pages dedicated to new N64 and SFC software across different gaming magazines, listing titles like Fire Emblem, Genealogy of the Holy War, Treasure Hunter G, Super Mario 64, and more. Finally, the bottom right presents an Akihabara Shop Tour software map, listing popular software stores in Akihabara, Tokyo. The page also includes top 5 rankings for game strategy guides, comic books, music CDs, karaoke requests, TV anime, and TV variety shows, though these are less focused on N64 games. This page is a hot game preview for Sky Science World Gulliver Boy on the Super Famicom, slated for release on June 28. Published by Bandai and categorized as an action game, it's priced at 9,800 yen. The preview features opinions from 5 reviewers: Miyasuka Yayoi, Utake Masanori, Nakazato Kazumasa, Sasaki Marina, and Goto Yasuhiko. All the reviewers have given the game a score between 5 and 6 out of 10. The reviews suggest the game involves controlling 3 characters with different abilities to solve puzzles. Some reviewers note that the initial gameplay, where you can utilize all 3 characters and their abilities, is enjoyable, but the later half restricts character switching, which is a downside. One reviewer felt the scenario is a bit thin for a puzzle game, while another appreciated the action RPG and action game elements, comparing the battle atmosphere to Zelda. Another reviewer focused on the simple and easy-to-understand system and beautiful graphics as positives, noting it's easy to get into for RPG fans. The overall impression is that it's a decent action RPG, possibly reminiscent of Zelda in some aspects, but with some shortcomings in scenario and gameplay structure in the latter half. At the bottom left, there's a manga-style comic strip featuring a mouse character and others discussing games, adding a light-hearted touch to the page. This section highlights Super Famicom games, despite the N64's emergence. It reviews 2 Super Famicom titles: Western Pachinko Story 2, a pachinko game with mixed reviews, scores of 7 and 5, and Umi no Nushitsuri, a fishing game praised for its enjoyable gameplay and variety, scores of 7, 8, and 9. The Hot Game Pickup also features simultaneous play of 2 Ultraman games, SD, Ultraman Battle Sortie, and Ultraman Legend, plus HOI Ninja World. The Insider's Eyes section previews the upcoming Star Ocean release and focuses on the N64, predicting high demand, with 300,000 units shipping by launch and 500,000 units in a month. This page is headline news from Dengeki Nintendo 64 Network. There are announcements for upcoming events and campaigns. The first event highlighted is Tokyo Game Show 96, a large gaming event held at Tokyo Big Sight from August 22nd to 24th, featuring 66 companies like Konami, Square, and Namco. There will be hardware and software to try, cosplay contests, and other events. The second event is the Let's Go Onsen Tour, a month-long tour starting July 24th and ending August 24th, featuring Puyo Puyo and cosplay contests, a Puyo Puyo store, and new software announcements, leading to the National Puyo Puyo Tournament Finals at Tokyo Game Show. There is a Super Trump Collection 2 campaign, where buying the game gives you a chance to win a Nintendo 64, amusement park tickets, rice, or a voice actor telephone card. Finally, the Hudson Super Caravan event is announced for July 20th to August 31st, across 31 locations, focused on Bomberman games, including tournaments for Super Bomberman, and featuring upcoming N64 titles like The File of Young Kindaichi, Case Files, Bomberman 64, and Super Power League 64. This page is packed with N64 and gaming news. It highlights the opening of JOYPOLIS, a new amusement park in the Tokyo Bay Area in July, featuring virtual reality and CG attractions. There's a section on a game school promoting computer literacy for families, mentioning a school that teaches parents and children computer skills, and even a professional academy linked with major game companies for those wanting a career in game development. For N64 accessories, there's an advert for a stereo AV cable from Hori Electric, promising enhanced audio and video quality. Excitingly, Dengeki Magazine is hosting a large N64 campaign on June 23rd across Tokyo, with events and appearances by a Mario cosplay team. Puzzle game fans should check out 30X, a new title in the Lights Out series with a new versus mode. Finally, the DNN-CD Pick-Up section features the soundtrack CD for Enix's RPG Dark Half, and a CD drama adaptation of the simulation game Mujinto Monogatari, which was also released internationally as Desert Island Story. This page is a feature article exploring the science behind why roller coasters feel good, titled, Panic and Pleasure Become the Same. Which one is it? It's part of a scientific verification series and focuses on brainwave analysis. The article uses a roller coaster called Ultra Twister to conduct an experiment. They measured brainwaves of people riding the roller coaster and found that while initially there's panic, afterwards, alpha waves increase, indicating pleasure. The article explains this brainwave change and concludes that pleasure can be derived from initially frightening experiences. It showcases brainwave graphs and photos of people enjoying the roller coaster. The experiment used a device called IBA to measure brainwaves in real time. This page is about experiencing the Tower Hacker Ride, which is a drop tower that plunges riders from a height of 80 meters at speeds of up to 100 kilometers per hour. The article features 3 people who tried the ride, and their reactions are documented, including their brainwave patterns during the descent. One person, Koga, is described as having a very sensitive brain with wildly fluctuating brainwaves, especially alpha waves increasing during the fall. Elami's brainwaves show wild delta wave fluctuations but stable beta waves, suggesting she might be too focused on fear to show alpha wave activity. Honda's brainwaves show almost no change during the ride, leading to a humorous suggestion that his brain might be dead. The article notes that from the top of the tower, Tokyo Dome looks about the size of a meat bun. It also mentions a 60-meter free-fall section of the ride. The next page has a section where they bravely try out a haunted house to experience fear and measure their brainwaves. It seems they were more scared of each other than the haunted house itself. Another section describes an experiment to see if watching adult videos in magazines could induce a lewd mood, but the pleasure measurement was impossible to record. There are also calls for reader submissions of mysteries and urban legends for investigation, and an invitation to become a member of Koga Channel with member benefits. This page is from the OGA Channel section in the magazine, and it's titled Editorial Meeting. It seems to be covering reader submissions, as they mention receiving postcards and letters from readers. There's a segment called Tauda Imi's Tomorrow Never Knows Runaway, which looks like a discussion or interview section focused on Tauda Imi. They briefly mention the magazine ending publication in conjunction with 64, almost certainly referring to the Nintendo 64. Looking ahead to the next issue, they are teasing an article about the TV drama Iguana's Daughter. This page is a humorous take on the Nintendo 64 launch from the perspective of game illustrator Patti Kogur. It's set in early May, just before the N64 release, and starts with someone asking Patti if she will buy an N64. Patti is depicted as being quite poor and hasn't even bought clothes since last summer. Hence the Nice Body Slope vs Patti Palace title might be a contrast between her financial situation and the desire for a new console. Patti humorously comments on the lack of games that excite her at launch, and even jokes about characters in games having four-dimensional pockets to store items. There's a mention of Fire Emblem, suggesting it's something she might be interested in among the launch titles. The text also mentions Saturday Hanyu Shogi, likely referring to Shogi 64, as a potential game she might want. The page also touches upon the new Nintendo 64 controller, highlighting that the feel of operation is fundamentally different from previous consoles. The final panel shows someone with ink-stained hands, perhaps from testing markers, being told off for bringing dirty hands onto the train, ending on a funny note about how the new controller might feel scary or unfamiliar at first. This page emphasizes the excitement surrounding the Nintendo 64. It points out how different the N64 is compared to other consoles where newcomers to genres like fighting games would be at a disadvantage. With the N64, everyone is starting from zero. The page mentions the incredible reception of Mario and the general hype, even suggesting people in Kyoto and Nintendo themselves are impressed. It also jokes about the console being called Nintendo's secret weapon by the editorial department. There's a comic strip section depicting a couple question and answer time in a field, referencing game commands and actions like Zelda and grass cutting, implying romantic scenarios through game mechanics. Another panel teases a future battle in the next issue between Hayao versus Pade. The bottom section features dialogue about the N64's price, suggesting it's expensive but worth it. It also touches upon the editorial team of the N64 magazine wanting to give something to Mr. Koizaka, and express their desire to see Zelda played soon, even mentioning Mother 3 as another desired game. The next issue preview highlights a Yoshi and N64 play manga. This page is dedicated to fan art submissions, titled Absolutely Colorful Subjectivity. It showcases various illustrations from readers. One piece depicts Rei Ayanami from Evangelion, with a recommendation to check out the anime, especially the LD version. Another artwork references Dragon Quest and Moguri, and features fan submissions in that style. There is also fan art for Fire Emblem featuring Cordelia, and another for Final Fantasy VI depicting Tina. Angelique's Rosalia is also illustrated. Super Bomberman 4 art is present, with a comment about wanting to cause a big explosion. Dragon Quest VI's Mireyu is also featured, commenting on her outfit. Trials of Mana, likely referring to Seiken Densetsu 3, is mentioned with an image of a girl in a blue dress. Street Fighter Zero's Sakura is also illustrated, mentioning liking to draw the back of characters. Lastly, there's art featuring Tamanegi Sword Fighter, discussing cell shading techniques. The bottom section provides the address for sending in submissions to the Illustration Heart section of Dengeki Nintendo 64 magazine. This page is a manga theater section, highlighting fan submissions centered around game themes. There's an announcement encouraging manga submissions, particularly those with game elements and vibrant colors, suggesting it's a good time for aspiring artists to send in their work. Several game-themed drawings are featured. There's Sakura and Ryu from Street Fighter Alpha, with a note about using colored pencils effectively and creating good backgrounds. A Gundam Wing illustration is shown, questioning if the style captures the essence of manga. Battle Hunter is represented, with a query if the scene depicted could be mistaken for a manga itself. A character named Riez is shown in a bust-up illustration. Tactics Ogre is represented by a Hawkman character, directly asking if the name is correct. Hawkeye is featured, praised for having a pop feeling and being concise without excessive text. Now, Nikon is another character illustration, with a comment on the balance and detailed drawing. Lastly, there's a section just titled RPG, featuring a comical scene playing on typical RPG scenarios. In a separate section, Parrot-Loving Comedians, there are caricatures of people in a humorous style, seemingly unrelated to the game themes, but adding to the page's lighthearted content. The next page is about Street Fighter Alpha 2 for the Super Famicom. It announces that the arcade hit is being faithfully reproduced at 100% on the SFC. The preview highlights new characters like Sakura, and showcases various characters with descriptions of their fighting styles and backgrounds, including Ryu and Ken, who are described as rivals and friends. It also mentions Chun-Li, Rose who uses soul power, Zangief with chest scars from Ryu, Sagat, Dalsim, Guy, Sodom as a former Mad Gear member, Abaddon, and Birdie, a former soldier. Screenshots from the game are included to show the gameplay. This page is about mastering gauge usage to win in a fighting game, possibly Street Fighter Alpha/Zero, and introduces characters in the game. It explains 3 gauge-consuming techniques. Zero Counter, which is a counterattack move using level 1 gauge. Original Combo, a customizable combo that uses gauge to perform continuous attacks. And Super Combo, powerful special moves like Vacuum Hadouken and Knee Press Nightmare, with damage scaling based on gauge usage. The bottom part of the page showcases a roster of 18 characters, including returning characters like Guy, Dhalsim, Zangief, and new characters like Roland, Gen, Dan, Vega, Guki, and Sakura, briefly describing each character's fighting style. Tower Dream is a board game for up to 4 players, with AI options, where players strive to become the wealthiest by building companies and structures. Designed with cute characters by Yoshimura Kinta and music by Saito Nobuhiro, the game centers on building landmarks to generate line fees, and then expanding into towers. Players establish companies by building multiple landmarks, becoming line owners by controlling land properties to collect fees from opponents. The game involves strategic company mergers, where smaller companies are absorbed, offering bonuses. The goal is to strategically grow your company, absorbing others to become the largest and richest player, outsmarting your opponents to win. This page introduces the Super Famicom game Energy Breaker, a unique RPG with simulation battle elements by Taito, set to release on July 26. The game features an evolving conversation system called Live Breath Talk, where dialogue choices impact the story. The story follows Myra, who has lost her memory and seeks guidance from the fortune-teller Selphia regarding her dreams, leading her to a perilous forest of wind. Gameplay revolves around energy points of 4 elements: earth, water, fire, wind, which influence character skills. Battles require strategic use of balance points for actions like movement and attacks, emphasizing tactical positioning and skill selection to overcome enemies. This page is showcasing 2 Super Famicom games, not N64 titles. First up is Jikyu Powerful Pro Yakyu 96 Kaimakuben, or Powerful Pro Baseball 96 Opening Edition, a baseball game boasting the latest player data for the 96 season. It mentions returning features like the Success Mode for player development, scenario and camp modes, and even a fishing minigame is included. It will be released on July 19th. The second game is Umi no Nushitsuri, known internationally as Legend of the Sea King Fishing. This is described as a fishing RPG mix, a new entry in the popular series, also launching on July 19th. It focuses on sea fishing with 109 types of fish to catch across 7 stages, like harbors and remote islands. The game highlights various fishing methods and collecting different types of fish. This page is showcasing several games. Atsuya Furuta's Simulation Professional Baseball 2 for Super Famicom is featured, highlighting its realistic simulation, where players can manage their baseball team, participate in matches as a manager, and customize player data to create original teams. Also on Super Famicom is Super Power League 4, emphasizing its upgraded realism in visuals and AI, and including popular Fuji TV announcers Fukui and Kojima. Lastly, Namco Gallery Volume 1 for Game Boy is introduced, bringing classic Namco arcade hits like Battle City, Galaga, Mappy, and Namco Classic together, with more volumes expected in the future. This page lists upcoming game releases for Nintendo 64, Super Famicom, Game Boy, and Virtual Boy. For Nintendo 64, notable titles include the recently released Super Mario 64 and Pilotwings 64, alongside upcoming titles like Quanpa, Super Spatial Knight Pro Baseball King, and Blade & Barrel. Many games are listed with release date undecided, including highly anticipated titles such as Wave Race 64, Kirby Bowl 64, GoldenEye 007, Star Fox 64, The Legend of Zelda 64, Bomberman 64, and even Mother 3, indicating a strong lineup of future releases for the system. The Super Famicom section features a wide array of games from various genres, including pachinko simulators, puzzle games like Super Nazopuyo Tsurululu, RPGs like Star Ocean, and licensed titles based on anime such as Gege no Kitaro and Sailor Stars. Popular franchises like SD Gundam Generation, Street Fighter, Bomberman, Wizardry, Crayon Shin-chan, Dragon Knight, and Harvest Moon also have new entries listed for the Super Famicom. Game Boy highlights include Bass Fishing Angler's Handbook, Namco Gallery Volume 1, the RPG Moguranya, and Mystery Dungeon, Shiren, the Wanderer GB. There are also titles like Super Chinese Land and Puzzle Bobble series games. Lastly, the Virtual Boy section lists games like Doraemon Nobita's Thrilling, Ghostland, Starseed, Virtual Bomberman, and various virtual branded titles, indicating the system's library of unique 3D experiences. The next page is an advertisement for Dengeki PlayStation Magazine. It highlights several key features of the magazine, including in-depth RPG coverage with games like Popolo Cross Story, Wild Arms, and Kingsfield 2. The magazine also boasts more detailed game walkthroughs than any other publication, featuring a 100-page supplement called PlayStation Volume 3, which covers 58 currently popular titles. Further features include large page counts dedicated to thorough coverage of notable titles, such as Tobal No. 1, Street Fighter 02, and Macross VFX. The magazine also promises exclusive scoops, mentioning that the staff behind Wizards Harmony are producing Eternal Melody, and that the Super Famicom hit series Kid Clone is coming to PlayStation with Kid Clone's Crazy Chase 2. Finally, it emphasizes its unmatched coverage of beautiful girl games, highlighting popular titles in that genre like Tokimeki Memorial, Two Heart, Naga EL, and Graduation Cross World. The advertisement also mentions that the magazine, Volume 24, is selling well and is published bi-weekly on the second and fourth Friday of each month. This page is an advertisement for a magazine about Sega Saturn. The advert promotes the magazine as the best source for Saturn software information, arcade games, PC games, and karaoke-related content. It highlights upcoming Saturn titles such as Enemy Zero, Knights, Tokimeki Memorial, Dokusei If, Virtua Fighter, Sakura Taisen, and Langrisser 2i. The page also features arcade game screenshots, including titles like Last Bronx and Virtua Fighter. At the bottom, it lists various gaming magazines, including Dengeki Nintendo 64, among other multi-platform and Sega-focused publications. This page is an advertisement for Sega X, an all-round Sega Wave magazine. The inaugural issue is currently on sale, and it will be released monthly on the 21st, priced at 540 yen. It's published by MediaWorks and released by Shufuno Tomosha. The image features Sonic the Hedgehog prominently. The next page is an advertisement for the Super Famicom game Dai Kaiju Monogatari 2, which translates to Great Shell Beast Story 2, a title that was never released outside of Japan. The advert announces the game's release date as August 2nd, a Friday, and its price at 8,200 yen excluding tax. The promotional text teases the game with the phrase, "Someday, in this place, we will meet time," and highlights the concept of four shells resonating to create a new legend. The bottom of the page includes information for Hudson's Humor Network fan club and a telephone service for new game information. This page is an advertisement for the game Daikenju Monogatari 2, which translates to The Great Shell Beast Story 2. It promotes a personal life game system called PLGS that appears to be integrated into the game, allowing players to input messages and times to affect gameplay, potentially recovering stats and triggering events. The ad features characters and screenshots showcasing battles and map exploration. It also announces the game's appearance at the Tokyo Game Show 96 in August 1996, highlighting a stamp rally campaign where players can win prizes. The game is from Hudson Soft and their Honey Fun Club. This page is an advertisement for the Nintendo 64 console and its launch in Japan on June 23rd. It highlights the console as bringing a new world of 3D computer graphics and animation to home televisions, controlled with a new 3D stick controller. The advert showcases Mario as the face of the console. 3 launch titles are featured. Super Mario 64 presented as a 3D action game where Mario freely runs around 3D space with new actions controlled by the stick. Pilotwings 64 described as a sky sports simulation, allowing players to experience realistic flight with various vehicles using the 3D stick. And a shogi game, noted as the strongest shogi game where even beginners can enjoy playing against 600 levels of AI opponents. The prices are listed for Super Mario 64 and Pilotwings 64 as 9,800 yen each. The bottom of the page provides contact information for Nintendo customer service and publishing details.